Hey guys, if you're a fan of Indian basketball, then subscribe to this channel and don't forget to press the bell icon.
Good evening. On behalf of IBPA, the Indian Unique Association of Indian Basketball Players, and the Basketball Portal, Indian Basketball Fans, we welcome you all for the 4th Basketball Conclave, a discussion on strength and fitness for basketball. As we announced, today we are dedicating this program in memory of the legend, late Captain Sarabjit Singh, who is the first Arjuna awardee in basketball. To start the dedication, we have Mr. Om Prakash VSM with us. So over to Om Prakash, international basketball player of services. Over to Omi. Please unmute Omi.
हाँ जी
हाँ आप बोलो आपका डेडिकेशन.
नमस्कार सर.
नमस्कार नमस्कार.
स्वर्गीय सर्वजीत साहब को मैं सबसे पहले तो तहे दिल से नमन करता हूं. और उन्होंने भारतीय सेना को लगातार 26 बार नेशनल ट्रॉफी मिली, उनमें ज्यादातर उन्हीं के नाम से है. और वो एक बहुत स्ट्रांग पोस्ट प्लेयर थे, लो पोस्ट पे खेलते थे और वो अपने वहां से ब्लाइंड शॉट भी करते थे. तो मैं बहुत उनके बारे में जितनी तारीफ करूं वो मेरे लिए बहुत ही कम है. थैंक यू. जय हिंद.
जय जय.
Now it is the turn of another services player, Sri Pratap Chandran, dedicating in memory of his coach, the late Captain Sarabjit Singh. Over to Pratap Chandran. Pratap Chandran, unmute please. Unmute. No, not it. Pratap Chandran, please unmute yourself.
Good evening, everybody. It's okay, audible now?
Yeah.
I didn't have much opportunity to play with our servicing staff because when I joined, he was our coach for services team. And I felt the ball is too small for him in his both the hands when he hold the ball. And his overhead, the double hand shot was so fluent, and it was his flow of action was very smooth and comfortable. That's only what I could see when he was practicing with us. And agility, that time he was so aged and his body was so heavy. He didn't move much, but his shooting was still perfect in that time. And it is yet to see and somebody is having that follow through and fluent action. So I dedicate this on behalf of me and my Air Force team to Mr. Sarabjit Singh, and I thank Mr. J for making this opportunity to speak few words about him. He's a great. Same time, Abbasi is our very old friend, and I like to wish him all the best and welcome to this show. Thank you.
Thank you, PC Nair. When Omi sent me the photograph of services team, he told me about one Nair, so I could not recognize you. But later, when I chat with you, I could. So thank you for joining. And
I was the smallest in that.
Thank you. And now it's the turn of the player who has played along with him. That is none other than Sri Rajagopal Gopi from Bangalore. Over to you, sir.
They played.
Yeah, over to you, Sri Rajagopal.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, great. I am extremely delighted to participate in this evening's conclave. And welcome to all of you. And I just remember Sarabjit very well, because when I was a youngster and when I played for the state team and the national basketball championship in Bangalore in '62, And then in Cuttack at 64, we played in the finals against Services, and Services was a formidable team, and we had a good team too. That's how we reached finals after beating Tamil Nadu Madras in semi-finals. Earlier we had beaten quarterfinals. Railways, Abbasi is here with us. He will remember. He was another great player. And Sarbjit was one of the greatest covering pivots of our era. I mean, our strategy was to see that he will not get the ball. I mean, the moment he gets the ball, when he is in the 3-second area, we are sure that he is going to turn either left or right pivot and score a basket. So we were trying our best to see that he will not get the ball. And that was our strategy. And we had a great legendary coach, S.V. Appaya, the great basketball player, who is called as the Bhishma Pitamaha in basketball circles in our country. And Sarbjit was a great player. And along with him, we had Kushina, another covering pivot. And these two pivots gave us a hell of a tough time. And we lost in the finals to them. And that's what I remember Sarbjit. And I'm so happy to be here this evening amidst all of you. And I'm happy that this program is dedicated to one of the greatest basketball legends of our time, Sarbjit Singh. Thank you very much.
Thank
All
you
the best.
so much,
Thank you, sir.
Sri Rajagopalji. Now it is a turn. It is a time to start the official program. And here we have our chairman of IBPA, the former, the Arjuna awardee, Sri Ghulam Abbas Montesor. He does not need any introduction in the basketball arena. He's also written book on basketball, the principle of basketball, A to Z. I think that book he has written and published in the year 1979. And those days there was no option for the players to browse the that is the book of Abbasi Bhai. Those days we used to refer. Bala was telling we used to refer his books for fundamentals in basketball and other. It is still it is a to Z basketball magazine or a book, and it is a great honor to invite him to do the opening remarks. He's also acted in many movies. I'm not sure the youngsters know. He has acted in some of the movies like Kun Ki Takar, Ashiana, etc. So it is time to invite Sri Muhammad Ghulam Abbas Montesor to give opening remarks. Over to Abbasi Bhai.
Thank you, Jay. At the outset, I would like to thank all the foreign players, coaches, managers, administrators for having taken part in this basketball conclave. And those in the future also, I would like to thank them also. Now, coming to this program dedicated to my friend, the late Sarbjit Singh. He started playing basketball probably earlier, but his first nationals was in Patiala, 1957-58. And he was the main person and main reason for Services winning the national championship for the first time. He had scored about approximately 26 points. But the most important thing and the unbelievable thing about him was that when the referee awarded him 2 free throws in the last and dying minutes of the game, and the match was going seesawing around, 2 points, 1 point, 2 points, 1 point. Now this gentleman, Mr. Sarbjit Singh, instead of focusing on the free throws, he did a mini Bhangra dance. And all of us who were standing and watching this match, we were stunned. We said, this man should go and this player should go and focus on the free throws. But he took a mini dance first. And then he went and made both the free throws. After a minute again, the referee awarded him 2 free throws. He did the same thing. Till date, I have not seen anyone take free throws like that. Till date, with so much confidence before taking the free throw. Normally, when in a situation, such a critical situation, you start sweating inside, your heart starts palpitating and all that. But this gentleman, Sarabjit Singh, was so confident that before taking the free throws, all the 4 free throws, before taking them, he was doing a mini Bhangra. And of course, because of him, and let me be very honest with you, that he was the first, technically speaking, center or pivot you call in India. And secondly, what was very important was that he never forced a shot. If he was double teamed or triple teamed, which normally all the players like Raj Gopal just said that they tried their best to make sure that he didn't receive the pass. But he did, whenever he did, and they were to the free person who could take a free throw. It was so. Even otherwise, he had very good basketball sense. His passing was good, even from the center when he was playing pivot. He never forced a shot. Now, talking about his 2 most and valuable performances and unbelievable performances was in 58-59 in Bangalore Nationals and 62-63 in Bangalore Nationals. Again, you know how many points he scored? Not much. He just scored 47 points. He just scored 47 points in one final, and the other finals he scored 43 points. And needless to add that his team his team beat again Mysore only, and obviously he was the main reason, and he was the first center that India has produced. Now, coming off the basketball field, he was a very amicable person, very jovial. He used to speak to each and every player, irrespective of how good or how low the player was in ranking. And he had a good sense of humor. And of course, we, especially myself and the others, were very close to him. The non-services players were very close to him. We used to call him Lambu. Lambu means tall, because he was 6'5". He's a very nice man. And we were very saddened by his sudden demise. And all I can say is this man was the first person center who produced a lot of centers after that, like Khushi Ram, Om Prakash, Kitoza, and all these people. They came later, but he was the first person. And I'm very happy that you have dedicated this e-basketball conclave to this gentleman, Swargiya Sarabjit Singh. Thank you.
To Shri Abasubai for joining. And it's time to introduce the panelists for today. We have an Olympian amidst us. She is none other than Olympian Alison Rantal. Yes, from USA. I'm happy to introduce her to the first panelist. She is presently the strength and conditioning coach of women basketball for the Vanderbilt University in USA, one of the leading university in Southeastern Conference. She has represented Jamaica in the London Olympics in discus. She has won gold medal in Central America and Central Games in 2012. She is a PhD holder, also having a master degree, and she's graduated for physical education. So that is Alison Randall, the Olympian, who is the first panelist.
You can go ahead. You can go ahead and ask her to just talk about or to start the discussion, and or otherwise you can just introduce all 3.
Okay. And the second panelist is the international athletic coach, Michael Russell. He's an international athletic coach from Jamaica, who is one of the IAF elite athletic coach. Now it is IAF is called as the World Athletics. He has represented Jamaica in many international competitions as a coach, and he has produced many international athletes also. To quote few, the Olympic gold medal list in 2016 in 110 medals, and world champion Omar McLeod. He started under him his career. The world under 18 record holder, 100-meter hurdles in girls, Akira Nugent, and he has also helped the Indian athletes as he was the coach at the 10-week academy at Guntur. He has helped few players to win medals. Some of them, Y Jyoti, who won the 110 hurdles at the All India Intervarsity Athletic Meet. Naresh, who won the gold medal in All India University in 100 meter. And Rachita, she won medal in the in under 17. So welcome Michael Russell for this program. Now, before introducing Dr. Kannan Pugarandi, who does not need an introduction in Indian sports arena, I would like to invite. I would like to introduce the special guest for today's program, and another athletic international coach from Jamaica, Horace Michael Russell. Is a good friend of mine, and because of him, through him, we got that is Michael Russell for you. He's joining. He's already joined with us. He's also an elite coach, A-level, elite 5 level coach. Also, he's a lecturer at the level 2 for the World Athletics. He's also produced many champions. A few of them, Chalk Wright, who has qualified for the Olympics this year. He's having the world ranking at 7. Another athlete is Shanius Lau, a national junior record holder of Jamaica. And in India, he has supported Krishna Jaishankar for breaking this South Zone record in discus, and now she's currently ranked at number 3. Welcome, Michael Russell, who was also with us for a couple of our program. Over to Bala for introducing Dr. Kannan Pugarandi.
While welcoming other guests, I have immense pleasure in welcoming Dr. Kannan Pugarandi. Very fondly called as Dr. Kannan, he's completed his MBBS medicals and then went on to go do his sports medicine masters from University of New South Wales, Australia. He's a member of ASEM USA, and he's been a physician for many teams. The Indian cricket team, hockey team, twice he has represented the Olympics as a physician for the hockey team. And triathlon, and many cricketers, many sportsmen, including injured basketball, volleyball players, have just got treatment from Dr. Kannan. He's a very close friend of mine, and he has got his institutes and clinics throughout India almost. And we are very happy to just welcome Dr. Kannan Pugarandi for this conclave, e-conclave. It's very nice that we have 3 coaches, rather 2 coaches in the panelists, and 1 doctor physician. And we hope the session will be of very good information and knowledge sharing for everybody. Over to Mr. Jay again.
Yeah, before our moderator Balakrishnan taking over this, I just have a question with Randall. I know you are an Olympian in athletics, but now coaching the women basketball team at Vanderbilt University. I wanted to know your experience, how as an athlete and now coaching the basketball team. What adjustment you made? Yeah.
So if you're just speaking in general, yes. In terms of the transition from being an athlete to working with basketball, I think a lot of things that I learned, a lot of things that I was able to discover, a lot of things that I went through, whether that be training modalities, training methods. I learned a lot of basic fundamental training principles and philosophies through track and field and through athletics. And a lot of those components, I'm able to use and implement with basketball team. Of course, the energy systems that are required to compete, are different because, in the discus throw, you're in the circle for about, 5 seconds or less, and basketball is up and down, going back and forth. But fundamental training principles when it comes to energy system development, movement patterns, all those things you kind of learn. And, track and field athletics is the foundation of basically every sport in the world. You're going to run some, you're going to jump some, you're going to throw some. And in basketball, you're going to run up and down the court, you're going to get up and down, you're going to jump, grabbing boards, okay, you're changing directions, all those things you kind of put together to create, the optimal basketball player or the player who can actually perform to their full potential. So just kind of going through figuring out what the individual need is of that sport. All right, really going through figuring out for that team, for that program, what their goals are, because some basketball programs may have a slower pace, so they don't run the floor, so they take up the whole shot clock, they run play, things up. And a lot of other teams can kind of go fast break, so it's break, get the ball out the rim, and we're going. So just figuring out what those training focuses are, and then doing my best to just meet the need for that particular team.
Thank you.
Ms. Randall,
I will take you
Ms. Randall, you can just go on and discuss about what is that you have just really learned and in developing the team, and particularly we would like to just focus more on strength and fitness, or rather conditioning here.
So your question was, what did I learn and what am I using?
Yeah, you're going to just talk about, you're going to just discuss about what are the things, because all basketball coaches, basketball players, and some of the old people are also there. What we didn't do in those days, and you're able to just teach us. And can you just start your session, because I know pretty well you have just prepared your slides, and you can just give us, and I'll take you through the session with some questions coming from our members.
Yeah, so I was prepared to go ahead and, as you asked the questions, to kind of give my responses. But from my perspective, working with the collegiate women's basketball program, there's a lot of things that I have to consider. So leaving high school, the AAU scene, they have a lot of play and they have a lot of years and they have a lot of mileage on them. Okay, so training freshman to senior women's basketball player will be different than training, senior to professional level athlete, just in terms of wear and tear, just in terms of figuring out, if they have, things that we need to focus on or stay away from. When you have mileage on your body, it's different things that you can do to achieve the same training outcome. So when I'm working with specifically, in my players, some of them may or may not have any sort of background when it comes to strength and conditioning or strength and fitness. So oftentimes I'll have to, start from scratch. So what that looks like, nowadays everybody's playing basketball all year round, so they're very specialized. So just kind of backing them up some. Okay, so really regressing a lot of things and fundamentally making sure that, one, they can move. All right, so we're going through movement patterns, we're going through mobility work, we're making sure like the joints and the different parts of your body are stable and they're able to function, passively, and voluntarily, because it's one thing to have hamstring strength or flexibility if someone is like leaning in on you, and it's another thing for you to actively be able to activate your hamstring and be able to, strike the ground. So different things from a mobility and activation standpoint. All right, that's probably first and foremost, really just making sure from head to toe that we're addressing those things. Another thing would be stability. So making sure we're stable in our shoulder joints, our ankles, our knees, our neck. One of the things that I've learned that are often neglected, especially when it comes to basketball, it is a contact sport. And the more and more you kind of get, bigger, faster, stronger athletes, bigger, stronger, faster athletes hitting each other or touching each other or, being in the same spaces where concussions could be, now a new injury outside of the ACL, outside of, the meniscus, things like that. So when I say head to toe, literally from head to toe. So we're doing neck training. So making sure we're protecting our head and our brain, shoulder stability, whether that be rotator cuff, all right, anterior delt, lateral delt, all those things in the joint areas, and really, really harping in and focusing on those injury prone areas. So like I said, hamstrings are usually tight from getting up and down all the time, hip flexors, ACLs, ankle sprains, So really on the front end, doing a lot of rehab type activities or prehab type activities to address those issues as we start to train, right? So now we have the foundation, they can move. All right, second thing, we have stability. So they're able to hold positions and hold their bodies. So whether that be planks, whether that be overhead carries, things to force their body to turn on and activate. Okay, and then next, we kind of, the next layer, you want to try to really harp on and really put a lot of intentional focus on those injury prone, spaces. Because if all things were to go, we want to make sure they can stay on the court. Okay. Didn't have all the time with them to get them strong, to get them explosive, to get them powerful, and they just showed up. I need to make sure they can play. Make sure they can play so that they're
Yeah.
After we kind of get those things going, then we try to, you know, work about strength based, making sure we have a good frame. So body composition, all right, making sure that they're, you know, fat-free mass levels are at an acceptable level so that they can get up and down. So watching our diet and making sure we're hydrated and, you know, taking a more holistic approach to their development instead of, okay, how high is your vert? Okay, how deep or how heavy is your squat? Okay, you have a deep, good squat, great. Now, how fast can we move it? Because now we're talking about getting you ready to play basketball. So working on those different strength levels, and we'll go into it when we kind of go and break down those questions that we're going to talk about. But, you know, going through all those things, mobility, stability, activation, strength, power, speed, agility, all those things make up a basketball player, and being able to operate and function in that for a long time. So now you're talking about anaerobic endurance and making sure you can get up and down for a prolonged period of time. That was probably a really long answer.
Yeah,
to kind of
but
I mean, it is multifaceted, and the biggest thing is making sure you are appropriately timing these stimulus and making sure that they can recover so that you can continue to see progress over the year.
Yeah, thank you so much. In fact, before I just go to Dr. Kannan Pogadendi, because you just talked more about the prehabilitation, rehabilitation, rotator cuff, even some of the joints. I just would like to want to know from Mr. Russell, what is your experience about the Indian athletes? Because the Indian athletes, Indian muscle is totally different from whatever you have trained in Jamaica or in some other countries. And what is your experience about training Indian athletes, particularly girls, as I was just learning from Mr. Jaishankar. Jaishankar's daughter also is getting trained from Mr. Vassal. And what do you think about your experience since you are in Guntur and training Indian athletes, Mr. Vassal?
Well, in the beginning when I came, I didn't know what to expect. But after getting here, I realized that we in India do too much specialization from too earlier age. So the kids have started to do special events from way too early, which is part of the problem. The other thing that I noticed is that nutrition that is required for especially explosive events is not really there, because muscle is what is needed for explosive events. And Indians are basically more on the thinner side for the most part, vegetarians in a lot of cultures. And so what we have tried to do is to try and change.
Oh, there's some problem with Mr. Russell. Mr. Russell is having some power cut problem.
Yeah, we have another coach, Bala, Michael.
Can I just have Michael Vassal's opinion, since you are also actively involved in Indian athletes, about the Indian athletes' physical condition, Can you just throw some light on that?
Also, I request to add on basketball. Because he's basically training the throwers where he needs strength. So I request Coach Vassal to give more on the basketball angle.
Okay, well, with regards to my experience in India and the Indian athletes, as Mr. Russell said, one of our concerns really was the diet and the makeup, the physical makeup, because we are working with smaller athletes. So it had to be we had to get very scientific. We had to deal with stuff like ensuring that athletes had enough protein to build muscle, which is key. We had to try and not change the diet too much, because I mean, with vegetarian diet,
turn either left or right pivot and score a basket. So we were trying our best to see that he will not get the ball, and that was our strategy. And we had a great legendary coach, S.V. Appaya, the great basketball player, who is called as the Bhishma Pitamaha in basketball circles in our country, and Sarabjit was a great player. And along with him, we had Kushina, another towering pivot. And these two pivots gave us a hell of a tough time. And we lost in the finals to them. And that's what I remember, Sarabjit. And I'm so happy to be here this evening amidst all of you. And I'm happy that this program is dedicated to one of the greatest basketball legends of our time, Sarabjit Singh. Thank you very much.
Thank
All the
you
best.
so much,
Thank you, sir.
Sri Rajagopalji. Now it is a time to start the official program. And here we have our chairman of IBPA, the former, the Arjuna awardee, Sri Ghulam Abbas Montesa. He does not need any introduction in the basketball arena. He's also written book on basketball, the principle of basketball, A to Z. I think that book he has written and published in the year 1979. And those days there was no option for the players to browse the. That is the book of Abbasi Bhai. Those days we used to refer. Bala was telling we used to refer his books for fundamentals in basketball and other. It is still it is a to Z basketball magazine or a book, and it is a great honor to invite him to do the opening remarks. He's also acted in many movies. I'm not sure the youngsters know. He has acted in some of the movies like Khoon Ki Takar, Ashiana, etc. So it is time to invite Sri Muhammad Ghulam Abbas Montesa to give opening remarks. Over to Abbasi Bhai.
Thank you, Jay. At the outset, I would like to thank all the foreign players, coaches, managers, administrators for having taken part in this basketball conclave. And those in the future also, I would like to thank them also. Now, coming to this program dedicated to my friend, the late Sarabjit Singh. He started playing basketball probably earlier, but his first nationals was in Patiala, 1957-58. And he was the main person and main reason for services winning the national championship for the first time. He had scored about approximately 26 points. But the most important thing and the unbelievable thing about him was that when the referee awarded him 2 free throws in the last and dying minutes of the game, and the match was going seesawing around, 2 points, 1 point, 2 points, 1 point. Now this gentleman, Mr. Sarabjit Singh, instead of focusing on the free throws, he did a mini Bhangra dance. And all of us who were standing and watching this match, we were stunned. We said, this man should go and this player should go and focus on the free throws. But he took a mini dance first. And then he went and made both the free throws. After a minute again, the referee awarded him 2 free throws. He did the same thing. Till date, I have not seen anyone take free throws like that. Till date, with so much confidence before taking the free throw. Normally, when in a situation, such a critical situation, you start sweating inside, your heart starts palpitating and all that. But this gentleman, Sarabjit Singh, was so confident that before taking the free throws, all the 4 free throws, before taking them, he was doing a mini Bhangra. And of course, because of him, and let me be very honest with you that he was the first, technically speaking, center of pivot you call in India. And secondly, what was very important was that he never forced a shot. If he was double teamed or triple teamed, which normally all the players like Gopi, Raj just said that they tried their best to make sure that he didn't receive the pass. But he did, whenever he did, and they were to the free person who could take a free throw. It was so. Even otherwise, he had very good basketball sense. His passing was good, even from the center when he was playing pivot. He never forced a shot. Now, talking about his 2 most and valuable performances and unbelievable performances was in 58-59 in Bangalore Nationals and 62-63 in Bangalore Nationals. Again, how many points he scored? Not much. He just scored 47 points. He just scored 47 points in one final, and the other finals he scored 43 points. And needless to add that his team his team beat again Mysore only, and obviously he was the main reason, and he was the first center that India has produced. Now coming off the basketball field, he was a very amicable person, very jovial. He used to speak to each and every player irrespective of how good or how low the player was in ranking. and he had a good sense of humor. And of course, we, especially myself and the others, were very close to him. The non-services players were very close to him. We used to call him Lambu. Lambu means tall, because he was 6'5". He's a very nice man, and we were very saddened by his sudden demise. And all I can say is, this man was the first person center who produced a lot of centers after that, like Khushi Ram, Om Prakash, Kitoza, and all these people. They came later, but he was the first person. And I'm very happy that you have dedicated this e-basketball conclave to this gentleman, Swargiya Sarabjit Singh. Thank you.
To Shriya Basubai for joining. And it's time to introduce the panelists for today. We have an Olympian amidst us. She is none other than Olympian Alison Rantal. Yes, from USA. I'm happy to introduce her to the first panelist. He is presently the strength and conditioning coach of women basketball for the Vanderbilt University in USA, one of the leading university in Southeastern Conference. She has represented Jamaica in the London Olympics in discus. She has won gold medal in Central America and Central Games in 2012. She is a PhD holder, also having a master degree, and she's graduated for physical education. So that is Alison Randall, the Olympian, who is the first panelist. Hi.
You can go ahead. You can go ahead and ask her to just talk about or to start the discussion, and or otherwise you can just introduce all three.
Okay. And the second panelist is the international athletic coach, Michael Russell. He's an international athletic coach from Jamaica, who is one of the IAF elite athletic coach. Now it is IAF is called as the World Athletics. He has represented Jamaica in many international competitions as a coach, and he has produced many international athletes also. To quote few, the Olympic gold medal list in 2016 in 110 medals, and world champion Omar McLeod. He started under him his career. The world under 18 record holder, 100-meter hurdles in girls, Akira Nugent, and he has also helped the Indian athletes as he was the coach at the 10-week academy at Guntur. He has helped a few players to win medals. Some of them, Y. Jyoti, who won the hurdles at the All India Inter-Varsity Athletic Meet. Naresh, who won the gold medal in All India University in 100-meter. And Rachita, she won medal in the in under 17. So welcome Michael Russell for this program. Now before introducing Dr. Kannan Pugarandi, who does not need an introduction in Indian sports arena, I would like to invite I would like to introduce the special guest for today's program, and another athletic international coach from Jamaica, Horace Michael Russell. He's a good friend of mine, and because of him, through him, we got that is Michael Russell for you. He's already joined with us. He's also an elite coach, A-level, elite 11 coach. Also, he's a lecturer at the level 2 for the World Athletics. He's also produced many champions, a few of them. Chuck Wright, who has qualified for the Olympics this year. He's having the world ranking at 7. Another athlete is Shanius Lau, a national junior record holder of Jamaica. And in India, he has supported Krishna Jaishankar for breaking this South Zone record in discus, and now she's currently ranked at number 3. Welcome, Michael Wessel, who was also with us for a couple of our program. Over to Bala for introducing Dr. Kannan Pugarendi.
While welcoming other guests, I have immense pleasure in welcoming Dr. Kannan Pugarendi. Very fondly called as Dr. Kannan. He's completed his MBBS medicals and then went on to go do his sports medicine masters from University of New South Wales, Australia. He's a member of ASEM USA, and he's been a physician for many teams. The Indian cricket team, hockey team. Twice he has represented the Olympics as a physician for the hockey team. And triathlon, and many cricketers, many sportsmen, including injured basketball, volleyball players, have just got treatment from Dr. Kannan. He's a very close friend of mine, and he has got his institutes and clinics throughout India almost. And we are very happy to just welcome Dr. Kannan Pugarendi for this conclave, e-conclave. It's very nice that we have 3 coaches, rather 2 coaches in the panelists, and 1 doctor physician. And we hope the session will be of very good information and knowledge sharing for everybody. Over to Mr. Jay again.
Yeah, before our moderator Balakrishnan taking over this, I just have a question with Randall. I know you are an Olympian in athletics, but now coaching the women basketball team at Vanderbilt University. I wanted to know your experience, how you are as an athlete and now coaching the basketball team. What adjustment you made? Yeah.
So if you're just speaking in general,
yes.
In terms of the transition from being an athlete to working with basketball, I think a lot of things that I learned, a lot of things that I was able to discover, a lot of things that I went through, whether that be training modalities, training methods. I learned a lot of basic fundamental training principles and philosophies through track and field and through athletics. And a lot of those components, I'm able to use and implement with basketball team. Of course, the energy systems that are required to compete, are different because, in a discus throw, you're in the circle for about, 5 seconds or less, and basketball is up and down, going back and forth. But fundamental training principles when it comes to energy system development, movement patterns, all those things you kind of learn. And, track and field athletics is the foundation of basically every sport in the world. You're going to run some, you're going to jump some, you're going to throw some. And in basketball, you're going to run up and down the court, you're going to get up and down, you're going to jump, grabbing boards, okay, you're changing directions, all those things you kind of put together to create, the optimal basketball player or the player who can actually perform to their full potential. So just kind of going through figuring out what the individual need is of that sport. All right. Really going through figuring out for that team, for that program, what their goals are. Cause some basketball programs may have a slower pace. So they don't run the floor. So they take up the whole shot clock. They run play, things up. And, a lot of other teams can kind of go fast break. So it's break, get the ball off the rim and we're going, so just figuring out what those training focuses are, and then doing my best to just meet the need for that particular team.
Thank you.
Ms. Randall,
I will take you further.
Randall, you can just go on and discuss about what is that you have just really learned and in developing the team, and particularly we would like to just focus more on strength and fitness, or rather conditioning here.
So your question was, what did I learn and what am I using?
Yeah, you're going to just talk about, you're going to just discuss about what are all the things, because all basketball coaches, basketball players, and some of the old people are also there. What we didn't do in those days, and you're able to just teach us. And can you just start your session, because I know pretty well you have just prepared your slides, and you can just give us, and I'll take you through the session with some questions coming from our members.
Yeah, so I was prepared to go ahead and, as you asked the questions, to kind of give my responses. But from my perspective, working with the collegiate women's basketball program, there's a lot of things that I have to consider. So coming, leaving high school, the AAU scene, they have a lot of play and they have a lot of years and they have a lot of mileage on them. Okay, so training a freshman to senior women's basketball player will be different than training, senior to professional level athlete, just in terms of wear and tear, just in terms of figuring out, if they have, things that we need to focus on or stay away from. When you have mileage on your body, it's different things that you can do to achieve the same training outcome. So when I'm working with specifically, in my players, some of them may or may not have any sort of background when it comes to strength and conditioning or strength and fitness. So oftentimes I'll have to, start from scratch. So what that looks like, nowadays everybody's playing basketball all year round, so they're very specialized. So just kind of backing them up some. Okay, so really regressing a lot of things and fundamentally making sure that, one, they can move. All right, so we're going through movement patterns, we're going through mobility work, we're making sure like the joints and the different parts of your body are stable and they're able to function, passively, and voluntarily, because it's one thing to have hamstring strength or flexibility if someone is like leaning in on you, and it's another thing for you to actively be able to activate your hamstring and be able to, strike the ground. So different things from a mobility and activation standpoint. All right, that's probably first and foremost, really just making sure from head to toe that we're addressing those things. Another thing would be stability. So making sure we're stable in our shoulder joints, our ankles, our knees, our neck. One of the things that I've learned that are often neglected, especially when it comes to basketball, it is a contact sport. And the more and more you kind of get, bigger, faster, stronger athletes, bigger, stronger, faster athletes hitting each other or touching each other or, being in the same spaces where concussions could be, now a new injury outside of the ACL, outside of, the meniscus, things like that. So when I say head to toe, literally from head to toe. So we're doing neck training. So making sure we're protecting our head and our brain, shoulder stability, whether that be rotator cuff, all right, anterior delt, lateral delt, all those things in the joint areas, and really, really harping in and focusing on those injury prone areas. So like I said, hamstrings are usually tight from getting up and down all the time, hip flexors, ACLs, ankle sprains, So really on the front end, doing a lot of rehab type activities or prehab type activities to address those issues as we start to train, right? So now we have a foundation, they can move. All right, second thing, we have stability. So they're able to hold positions and hold their body. So whether that be planks, whether that be overhead carries, things to force their body to turn on and activate. Okay, and then the next layer, you want to try to really harp on and really put a lot of intentional focus on those injury-prone, spaces. Because if all things were to go, we want to make sure they can stay on the court. Okay. Didn't have all the time with them to get them strong, to get them explosive, to get them powerful, and they just showed up. I need to make sure they can play. Make sure they can play so that they're.
Yeah. Can I just have Michael Wessel's opinion, since you are also actively involved in Indian athletes, about the Indian athletes' physical condition, physics. Can you just throw some light on that?
Also, I request to add on basketball. Because he's basically training the throwers where he needs strength. So I request Coach Wessel to give more on the basketball ankle.
Okay, well, with regards to my experience in India and the Indian athletes, as Mr. Russell said, one of our concerns really was the diet and the makeup, the physical makeup, because we are working with smaller athletes. So it had to be we had to get very scientific. We had to deal with stuff like ensuring that athletes had enough protein to build muscle, which is key. We had to try and not change the diet too much, because with vegetarian diet, you don't get as much protein as we would like for the explosive muscles. And so, but we tried what we could. And with regards to basketball in relation to throwing, as Alison said, there is basketball kind of completes everything. You run, you jump, you throw. It works the same muscle. We have to ensure, I think for basketballers, they need to ensure the shoulders are strong, the shoulders are solid. Wrist, there is a lot of wrist work that is involved. So it means that you basically are training like a decathlete in a sense. And as we said, athletics is the mother of all sports. So we have to encompass a lot of upper body work in that. You run up and down the court and you have to get to a stop, and you have to shoot. So you have to have solid shoulders, solid wrists, and elbows.
Thank you, Mr. Vaisal. Since you are a thrower and Miss Alison Randall is also a discus thrower, more of your infrasupinous latissimus dorsi, deltoid, and also your wrist and flexor and extensors would have been strengthened. The same thing is required for basketball players. Along with that, the coordination with the lower body muscle. And I would like to just go to Dr. Kannan Pugadendi. There are two things which I would like to ask Dr. Kannan. One is about the prehabilitation and rehabilitation they were just discussing. Another about the nutrition. Out of 22 amino acids, 8 are not available in the vegetarian diet, but still many of them are vegetarians, and many of the international athletes are turning into vegetarians. Can you just throw some light on this, Dr. Kannan?
Great. I think Dr. Randall has actually made my problem very simple, because she has already explained most of the things which I would have done. But thanks a lot, Dr. Randall, that you have gone through them. The most important aspect is that players feel if they play basketball, they will get everything. That's a misconception. In Indian environment, they feel every day they go and play basketball, they will learn basketball. But the base has to be built through their strength training, to their flexibility, to their cardiovascular endurance, proprioception, core strength. Today, we didn't even have core strength. Bala, I didn't think you would have even done core strength in your time. Yeah. Jay also wouldn't have done, or anybody ancient than that. So I feel there's so many changes that has happened in the training sector, not in the coaching sector. The training sector has changed, and that is the key element that we can catch up. And all the coaches who have spoken till now, they're saying Indians appear small. They may have a skill, but they want a structure which can be more intimidating, which is what I have seen Bala do on the court. Most of the time, he's intimidating. So Jay is a very gentle person. He may not be so intimidating, but Bala I have seen most of the time very intimidating guys. And I assure one thing: this strength training cannot be had in today you do strength training, tomorrow you become better. It takes 6 weeks to see any development. Leave alone trying to gain muscle mass. And moreover, it is not the size of the muscle that we are looking at. It is the capacity of the muscle to perform the required movements at a good speed and have the endurance to continue to do that repeatedly. These are the things which the medical fraternity can't even understand, because the coach and the doctor don't sit together to understand what is required when they have to play the game tomorrow. So very important for all of us. It's a team. It's a beautiful team that requires the coach, the trainer, the nutritionist, the psychologist, maybe a sports physician if they have availability. Otherwise, Bala, you have to understand, in Jamaica, even a sports meet in an ordinary school in 1989, when I was there, I had seen them covered by sports medicine personnel.
Okay.
As a support, they cannot conduct it. In India, we still do not have most of the tournaments won't have cover. It's important. I want to say Jamaica is fantastic, even in 1989. Fantastic country in taking care of their athletes. That's why they are producing world-class athletes. Hats off to them. I hope I have answered most. And Bala is a vegetarian and has played for India. Vegetarianism isn't a question, but that's why milk is added in our Indian environment, because there's an animal protein added. And we can supplement the rest of the essential amino acids that cannot be produced, which need not be worried about. Because they're very useful.
Yeah, Doctor, one more question. Since we just touched upon the strength and endurance of the muscle. And what is the difference between the power and strength of muscles? Because people talk about the powerful, like an explosive muscles for a quick 1-2 action when they just go on for a dunk, or the endurance of playing 1.5 hours of aerobic activity basketball.
Though it will be Randall's question, I'll answer it a little, then she can take over if I'm wrong. The strength is required to move to power. You can't move to power directly. You need the basic strength. Suppose both of us do an exercise like a push-up. If both of us do 10 push-ups in a particular time, I do it in less than 7 seconds and you do it in 10 seconds. Both of us are strong, but I'm powerful. By that, the explosive component that is added makes the muscle do a particular movement in a shortest time possible. All the muscles contract to produce the result, the required amount that has to be brought. So strength is the beginning and power is the output. In basketball, the jump is a very important power output that has to happen and a release when you are far away from the board. The same thing cannot happen when you are closer. You can't use the same power. Then it has to cut down, which all of you are saying it has to kiss the board or don't touch the board at all going through the ring. So accuracy in basketball is so high that you cannot do more strength training for the upper nearer the competition, and you have to do more strength training for the lower body even during competition, because that doesn't make a difference. I let Randall also be, ma'am, I think it's your question. You should be happy to say, yeah, jump into it.
Yeah, before ma'am, Randall comes into this, I think the power has come back to Mr. Russell because he was off. And Mr. Russell, are you there back? Can you just continue your whatever you were trying to say?
Yes, I'm here. We had one of those regular power cuts.
Yeah, you got the power now because Dr. Kannan has given more power.
We are talking about power.
Yes. So I heard a little bit of what Doc said, and just to kind of finish what I was saying, in terms of power, I did a research in regards to the gene, and Indians possess that gene that gives them the ability to do explosive events. Fortunately, on the other side, it's not there for the endurance events. So the events that take you over a prolonged period of time, those genes are really not present, are limited. So with that being said, the power now that has to be generated must come from the muscles. If the muscles are not built properly, then we are going to have a problem. And as I said before, diet, in some cases, the culture and all of that has basically inhibit the development of talent in terms of these, explosive events. So what we have been trying to do since we got here is to try and change the nutrition. What we can't do is force people, if they're vegetarians, to eat meat, but we try to include protein supplements that they can take along with their regular meals in order to boost the muscle building capacity. So when they're training, they can build muscle, and then in the long run, develop the power that we require for our sport.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Russell. I think if you have any videos about the strength training, if you have any videos, can you just play it now, or would like to just prepare yourself? And Jay?
No. So there are a few videos for Russell for basketball players. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one.
Have it? Yeah.
Music?
Okay, so this is one of my athletes. He's a sprinter.
Sound?
His name is Joe. So he is basically doing what sprinters should do, is learning to be as explosive as possible, which is a plyometric exercise. And plyometrics is reactive power and reactive generation of force, which is very important for the basketball player. So if you notice, the ground contact is pushing off quickly, then landing and going. So this is a slow plyometric exercise. You have quicker plyometric exercises where the contact time is shorter, but so it depends on your goal and what you want to achieve for that particular athlete.
There are two more clippings.
Okay, and Vishal?
If you have...
Okay.
There are two more.
Right, this will also be good. And you know that one of the best plyometric exercises is actually running. So what this is doing a lot of low impact plyometric with just this little movement. So this will give you the strength and the power and the speed to also run up the court, run down the court, explode, pass your man, jump up to take a jump shot, or whatever that is required for you to do on the court.
Okay. Do you recommend depth jumps, hurdle jumps, and lateral hops?
Yes, all of those would be important. What happens is that the degree of when you're doing it, in terms of beginners, you would start them with low impact plyometrics, which would be probably using obstacles of low height, probably below 12 inches. and you have them do those jumps. But there are a bit of exercises and jumps that you can do for developing that. But what I also want to say is that plyometric exercises is not only left up to jumping. You have plyometric exercises that you can develop for the upper body as well. And you also need that explosive power in the upper body, in the core, in the shoulders, in the arms. And there are also exercises that will develop the plyometric abilities in the upper body as well.
Okay, and can we have, Vishal, this video? Can you just run the video?
Oh no, I didn't have a video for that, but
no, that's okay.
It would be to use. You could use the med ball. The med ball, how they're making the med balls now, they're able to bounce, and you bounce it off the wall, and you catch and you bounce it. So the reaction time to catch and throw is used, and all the muscles are stretched, and then concentrated in terms of delivering that ball over a period of time and in quick succession. So that's one example of upper body plyometric exercise.
Okay, thank you. And after this video, I would like to just throw this question to Dr. Randall. There are some questions posed by Dr. Kannan, and I would like to add, I've seen Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant staying in the air. Staying in the air, what are all the exercises you have to do? After you can just talk about power and strength. After that, you can answer this question. Dr. Randall?
Yeah, so you're speaking about Michael Jordan and Kobe's ability to jump and stay in the air for a prolonged period of time.
And time.
How do we achieve that?
How do we achieve that? Wow. I think the first answer will have really good parents with really good genes. So we can start there. And after we start there, then you have something to work with. But I mean, to your point earlier, I think strength is a driving factor. So if you're strong, you're able to be more powerful. Now, when we talk about power and we talk about plyometrics and being explosive, we really are trying to manipulate that speed component. So how fast or in a short amount of time, how much can you displace so-and-so? So from, sitting to standing, how fast can you generate, force through the ground to be able to get up high in the air? So if we're working on strength, and strength is always a component, we can adjust the weight to be able to move things faster. And that's kind of when you go into maybe velocity-based training, when you're dealing with different loads when it comes to plyometrics. So as Coach Russell was saying earlier, like there are a variety of plyometric things that you can do. And when you think plyos, we're thinking the actual stretch shortening cycle. So load, take care of it. And then
One second.
After you have all those components, then you're able to produce and you're able to, either deliver or implement and stay in the air. So different things.
One second.
Let me, there is some interruption. Sajjan bhai, thoda mute kar lena. Otherwise, Lakshmikant, you can just mute others so that Dr. Randall can just speak. We are putting spokes on her flow. You can start, Dr. Randall. Sorry for the interruption.
No worries. I was going to keep going and you're just going to roll with it. So, yes, when it comes to the stretch shortening cycle, you have, your eccentric phase, your amortization phase, and your concentric phase. And, those things happen when you're sprinting. Those things happen when you have a med ball. You squat down, that's your eccentric phase. How fast you put force through the ground and then deliver the implement will be your concentric phase. So if you're working on trying to stay in the air as long as you can, you've got to manipulate all three of those phases. So a phase to really eccentrically load, you can take eccentric squats down and making sure that they're timely and that they're actually intentional. So 3 seconds down, maybe coming to a pause, being able to explode from that pause into a jump. It can be continuous, so it can be hurdle hops. So your eccentric, quick off the ground jump. Eccentric load, quick off the ground and drop. And then also being able to land. All right, I don't want anybody to forget that. Whenever I'm teaching plyometric or jump exercises, the first thing I go over is how to land, because you can, once you get up there, you want to know what you can do or how to get down safely. So we go over landing mechanics. We make sure that we're able to absorb the floor, making sure that we're able to control our bodies so that we're not displacing energy in different places. So like I said earlier, making sure your ankles and your feet are able to absorb the force, making sure your knees are able to sink in and absorb the force. So landing mechanics, definitely, when we go to depth jumps and depth landings, making sure that they're strong enough to do that. I want to say a lot of research will suggest you have to be able to, do your body weight ×2 to be able to absorb the force of, 8 times of your body weight coming down onto a hard surface. Of course, those things will kind of be up and down depending on your, your pool of athlete, but you have to have and possess a certain level of strength. And when I say strength, like, thinking about how much you can move to be able to maximize these plyometric exercises. So for Kobe, for Jordan, like I said, good genes, and also doing different things to manipulate your eccentric phase, your amortization phase, and your concentric phase. And that's just breaking down the jumps and your plyometrics in different phases throughout the year.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you're just talking about this landing mechanism, and there will be a lot of stress fractures or some injuries will be there in the shin bone. I would like Dr. Kannan to just throw some light on rehabilitation or how to just prevent injuries, particularly doing this plyometric exercises or playing on a hard surface as well as Indian playing conditions are concerned.
Very good question, Bala. We'll take it from there. If I have Dr. Randall, Dr. Russell, and others monitoring them, the possibility of the landing being softer. The landing cannot be hard on the heel. It has to land the way the toe and then the heel. The normal walk, you hit it, it is 3 times our body weight. If I am 70 kg, 210 kg impact for a normal walk, the foot takes. For a run, it is 5 times. That means it is 5 into 70, 350 kg. If you are jumping and landing, 700 kg 10 times. So the very important thing is that they need to strengthen the muscle to go through the plyometric work and land properly, and not to have ankle sprains, plus, as you said, shin splints, because the muscle is not capable of absorbing the load. The bone will absorb the load. Today, we find bones are spacers and not shock absorbers. Muscles and tendons and ligaments and the fascia are the shock absorbers. Even doctors have not learned this aspect as sports medicine is practiced today. We need to know that the fascia takes a lot of importance today in our training, which we didn't do 5 years, 10 years before, but today it's become a very important aspect. Not many of us know about the facial training also. So when we are talking about plyometrics, as they were talking about, not done in an Indian environment, how many basketball players do plyometric? When it should be added in your training, nearer the competition, how to taper it and not to continue that at the same intensity or not to do at that time. Those training can be maintained for a period of 3 to 4 weeks with very minimal repetitions. So when to use them is very vital, and not to use them throughout the year. You cannot increase the number of repetition. That also will cause injuries. Depending on the individual, the weight, the body composition, the strength of the individual, these can vary. Do not compete with somebody who's doing more because you think he's doing, I must also do. That's a problem with athletes who are training in a group. They'll always feel somebody is doing, so I am capable of doing. The coach or the trainer will give them the exact number to do and not to exceed it to avoid injuries.
Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, you were talking about this plantar fascia, the injury, and will it radiate to the knees and glute?
Sir, the absorption of force is only when it's dissipated, it goes up to your head.
Okay. So
it is not only related, it's a misconception. It goes, the whole body distributes. That is why you are going to take up and land. Even it goes up the spine, the rest of the arm. That's why you can see all the people, you tie the arm and ask them to jump, they cannot do. There's so much of a cooperation brought in by the muscles on the shoulder, neck, back, arms, etc. to develop. See, all the jumpers who are doing a long jump, you can see the circle they make and the hands also going above. They will not be down. So how they can assist even in basketball is because there's the ball, they take it up. They do not keep the hand low to jump high. Luckily, most of the time the ball is up here. So the jump is made easier. Otherwise, if they keep the ball here, lower down, below the hip, they cannot jump high. So the upper body has already gone up to assist the lower body to move up. These are the beautiful aspects of basketball game itself, which as you go on working with it, you find it to be different from football. Because basketball players' requirements in India, the problem is we play in open. It's not an indoor sport; it's an outdoor sport. We play on a different surface. We do not have wooden surface or artificial. Very few people have. Most of them are on concrete. Shoes are not so good. These are the ones we have to look at. The shoes must be good. Provide the shoes which are ideal. Every year, at least one shoe must be changed. 1 year is actually a long time in basketball. 6 months itself, they are old. They are ancient. So if we don't change shoes, possibility of injury is high. These are the avenues. Instead of paying the doctor, pay the company that produces shoes. Because you can avoid the injury and be away from the game. Players should be given that option.
Thank you, Rich Doctor. You are asking us to just get good shoes and forget Dr. Kannan. No, we are going to just not do that. And before I just go to, I leave it to Mr. Jaishankar. A small question to Mr. Russell. You said that genes with the Indians are very good. Did you mean the fast twitch muscles, which are good for this explosive movements?
Yes, exactly those fast twitch muscles.
Okay.
Based on where the Indians originate from, those genes are predominant in most Indians. They also did the research to say that on the other hand, the endurance genes are not present. So in terms of basketball, we already have the genetic or the genotype for these events: basketball, volleyball, sprinting, you know. So all we need to do is to ensure that we prepare properly. And one of the problems that I think is facing us in India is that we are not able to manipulate the components of fitness to get the best out of each individual. And part of doing that is to understand what each component requires, right? As Doc was saying earlier, the movements, the coordination of the arms is a component of fitness. Your endurance, because if you're not if you are unable to sustain whatever, you can get injured. The flexibility of the joints to stretch and flex at very short time is very important. Also, the strength, as Alison had mentioned earlier, you need to at least be able to squat at least 60% of your body weight in order to prepare those muscles for that landing and the shock absorbing that doctor was talking about. And of course, speed. So if you are unable to understand these 5 components, then it means that you are putting yourself in a spot of bother right there.
Okay, that is very nice to just hear that the explosive muscles or fast twitch muscles are there with Indians. And in that way that we should be doing good in sprints, volleyball or any anaerobic activity, which requires less of oxygen, more of explosive muscles. And if we have muscle endurance, and we'll be able to just play much better basketball. Jay, you would like to just ask some questions about strength and training, or would you like to just have somebody else coming on to the discussion?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks, Bala. Actually, I forgot to introduce our moderator, Balakrishnan, international basketball player, and he's also a qualified trainer. He has taken official certificate from Progressive Fitness of California, and he's just retired as the general manager of one of the India's nationalized bank, Indian Overseas Bank. So Balakrishnan is supporting us for this as a moderator for our enclave. And now before I go to Coach Vessel, we have a guest all the way from San Antonio. He's a doctor by profession. He's one of the leading surgeon in San Antonio, Dr. Vishwanathan. Dr. Vishwanathan, welcome. And he's a very supporter of Spurs. So just, when Kidu Anna Jose from India, when she traveled to USA for participating in the WNBA tryouts, Dr. Vishwanathan helped us for getting an opportunity for her to participate in the trials done by the Spurs. Over to Vishwanathan, your observation, please.
No, there's no observation. I'm just saying hello to all of you. I'm just mesmerized by the conversation that I'm involved in. I would like to continue to be an observer. I moved to San Antonio. I moved to USA about 43 years ago, and I haven't been following anything about basketball in India, but I know a lot about basketball in USA, obviously, and that too, San Antonio Spurs, my favorite team. The rest, I would like to stay back and enjoy the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor. And now it's time to hear from Coach Wessel, Michael Wessel, regarding the, he's a international coach for throwers. So what type of exercise you suggest for basketball players for strengthening? Over to Coach Michael Wessel.
Okay. What I would
which Vassal or Russell?
Oh,
Vassal.
Oh, it's Vassal.
Okay.
We'll come to Russell after Vassal. Yes.
Well, basically we deal with shoulder strengthening exercises. We work the back, which is lat pull downs, overhead presses, shoulder rotations, shrugs. And you also try and get some of the compound exercise involved. I think snatches are great for basketball. Snatches and cleans, which are really worked on explosive power along with the arms. So it's really just isolation exercises. You have dumbbell flies, overhead flies, all of the stuff that works the shoulder girdle from all angles, front, back, and also from the side. So it's really a complete thing. And one of the things that I think while we're doing that is rotator cuff strengthening and rotator cuff exercises, which is something that a lot of people tend to forget. So there are a lot of rotator cuff exercises that you can do with resistant bands and maybe like smaller weight dumbbells, simple things like wrist rotations, all of these things which will help to strengthen your shoulders, wrist, and those extensors which are needed for that awesome jump shot.
Thank you, Vessel. I have one question to Vessel. Since we are in lockdown, and I don't know when the lockdown is going to be over and when we are going to hit the gym, what do you think about body weight training? Body weight training so that you can just strengthen your muscles.
This is for Russell?
Yeah, Vessel. Michael Vessel.
All right.
Okay. Whichever one. Well, okay, bodyweight exercises are there are so much bodyweight exercises you can do. Push-ups is a great build of strength, upper body, core work, and there are actually about 48 variations of push-ups, so you cannot get bored doing push-ups. Stuff like tricep dips, which can be done from a chair. You can do it on a wall, just any surface. So there are a lot of bodyweight exercise that you can do. I mean, stuff like bridges, planks, all of these things are good. But I say push-up is for me one of the biggest strength builders in at this time because it's actually a full body exercise. So it works the core, it works the shoulders, and it can also help with your overall core stability.
Even doing push-ups on the Medi ball, Swiss ball is also going to strengthen.
Swiss ball, med ball, right. If you have access to these things, that would be even greater.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Take from Coach Russell now.
Yeah, Mr. Russell from Guntur, from Guntur in Jamaica. You can just talk about your lockdown exercises. Lockdown exercises. And I have been seeing in the YouTube and some of the Google, natural movement or animal movement exercises are there. And how far is it going to really helpful to the athletes, animal movement exercises?
That is very, it's good that you asked. The animal movement exercises are able to get into the joints. All those joints, those major joints, the hip joint, the shoulder girdle, the backbone, all of those animal movement exercises are able to activate all of those areas in order to make them as supple and flexible as possible. Because based on looking at how the animal moves, there has to be a certain flexibility in order for them to move as fast as they need to do. And range of motion is also very critical. And the animal movement inserted in the human with our bipodal type of movement is very critical in terms of working the whole body to ensure that we get to the state that we need to get in order to be as fit as we're supposed to be. As I said before, flexibility is also very critical, and in terms of getting strong, if you are not flexible enough, then it means that it will hinder your strength gains. So it's all of those things have to be worked on in certain percentages based on your goals in order to get there. So yeah, I like the animal movements, very functional, and is very critical in your development as a basketballer or an athlete, basically.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. In fact, why I asked this question, animal movement exercise, most of the yoga postures, which are stretching or whatever it is based on animals. I would like Dr. Kannan to just throw some light on these animal movement exercises. A few of them, even I tried with Dr. Kannan. Okay. Dr. Kannan, please.
Bala, we need to understand yoga and exercise are not same. Yoga is yoga and exercise is exercise. You should not mix yoga and exercise because yoga works on the central circulation, the parasympathetic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system that functions on its own, our digestion, our heart, our respiration, all these things are coming under the autonomic nervous system. So in the autonomic nervous system, it's essential to understand there are two types. One is sympathetic. I want to do it. Get it. Coach, come on, move. Yeah. Basketball, once you warm up, you are setting the circulation to the periphery. That is sympathetic nervous system. Whereas in yoga, we want it to be in the central circulation. So do not misunderstand because there is exercise movement happening that it is going to raise your heart rate, breath rate, or your blood pressure. Please, this is where the yoga differs. So the exercise works on the type 1 muscles which stabilizes the spinal muscles. So yogic postures can be used for the stability of the joint. So there are now two ways of looking at a muscle, type 1, type 2. Now we say there are stabilizers and mobilizers. So the stability of the type 1 muscles is essential on which the type 2 muscles move. So both are required. This is one. Second, the last thing when I told you about fascia, soon in the next 5 to 10 years, we will understand for the jumps, it is not the muscle that did it. The epimysium, perimysium, endomysium, they're all facial connections. And the facial training, how the fascia stretches and holds the force and comes out of it. So what they call as eccentric stretch does not come from the muscle is the latest finding. They say it is coming from the fascia. And when we talked about kangaroos, kangaroos are animals that can jump a lot. They found it is not the type of the muscle, it is the fascia it possesses. And human beings have an IT band on the side of the thigh. We do the IT band stretch.
Yes.
Only human beings in the whole animal kingdom has an IT band because of the upright posture, thoracolumbar fascia. These are not there in the other animals. So we need to understand the facial development is going to be the next jump that all coaches, trainers are going to make and find our martial art movements are so good in developing our Kalaripaitu, the Kung Fu. That's why coach was talking about the animal movements are good. We may have to include them. And he made a very important statement. Indians are specializing at a very, very young age, where at an young age, they should have had a lot more information up here on basic human movement with different sport, martial art, dance, which doesn't happen. Naturally, the resources up here are minimal, focused on one sport. So when there is a requirement to learn, your brain is not ready. It's not about the power of the muscle. The learning of the brain is also a very important concept. So coach cannot teach you all this in one go because he taught you the exercise. Your brain has to do that and learn those components over a period. That's what is a faster learning.
Thank you, Doctor.
Very good, Doc. Very good.
Thank you. Dr. Alison Randall, do you have anything to just say on Dr. Kannan? Because he has really opened the Pandora box.
Yes, no, I 100% agree. I think earlier I spoke to kind of regressing and backing up. Animal movements, childhood movements, right? So were we crawling? You know, as we were crawling as babies, were we reaching up and grabbing stuff and pulling things off the counter and, you know, digging in, you know, places that we weren't supposed to be, but we were crawling, we were reaching, we were rolling, we were doing all these things, you know, as children. And then, like we said, as we specialize, we start to shut those things off. So we're not able to get out of compromising situations on your hands and knees or hands and feet because you haven't been down there. You know, so animal movements like crab walks and bear crawls and different rolls and different tucks and planks and movements that require, you know, hands and feet to stabilize while you're doing the movements are crucial. You know, I'll have some players now who I'll say, all right, get in a bear stance, and, you know, their ankles are so tight that they literally can't do a calf raise because all the running and all the jumping. And, you know, we have to really kind of force those original movements or, you know, developing movements to get them to be more dynamic, more resilient athletes because they've been stuck in this upright position doing this one thing all the time. So backing them up, doing the crawl, doing the rolls, doing all these things that, you know, our bodies kind of got away from allows us to kind of open up a different avenue of movement and comfortability. There's actually a book called Original Strength, and that basically just kind of gives you to prescribe these starting strength or, you know, infancy movements to kind of help our body be able to get in and out of positions. That's Original Strength by Tim Anderson. So that's something that you want to look up and look into. That's a great resource that I've started to use. It seems weird, you know, when you tell them to take their shoes off and get down on the floor, but that's what it's going to take to kind of rebuild and retrain different movements.
I think, Bala, that's a very important statement. She said, remove the shoes. That means your feet must touch the ground.
Okay.
Yes.
The feet must be able to feel the ground. That's when the input through those resources are vital for the development of the brain.
Okay.
Very important. So some of the things that she said, crawling, creeping, is mainly to align the whole spine joints, especially because you jump and land, they may lose their positioning. So when we do the crawl and the rolls in those positions closer to the ground, the alignment of the body happens naturally. You don't have to go to the chiropractor or a osteopath to fix them. Your own body will fix them. Very important book.
Thank you, Dr. and Alison Randall and Russell. We were talking about those. What are all the things to be done for the exercises? There are some contraindicated exercises while doing crawls or prone crawls or the rolls. There are certain things in India people are doing which are banned about 60, 70 years back. Can doctor throw some light on the contraindicative exercises, basically?
You're asking them, Bala, or are you asking me?
Dr. Kannan.
Thank you, Bala. No, the thing is, when we are doing any form of exercise for a neck, we were doing a rotation. We were doing a neck rotation. Today we are saying, by doing the exercise, there is a possibility the arteries that go through the vertebrae may be eroded depending on the vertebral size, the arterial size, the aperture available for the artery to pass through. So neck rotations are supposed to be avoided in sporting environment because it doesn't mimic any sporting requirement. Nobody is going to do this in a game. That is a requirement. So functional training, when we are doing anything, it must be functionally brought into the requirement for the sport. Otherwise, you are doing one training and it should be transferred. You are studying geography, writing history exam.
Correct.
It is not possible to produce a result. So you need to be specific to that. So one. Second, your knee rotations, because people do not know how to distribute the load, doing a knee rotation is also banned. The hip rotation, because these people do not have proper flexibility around that region, the thoracolumbar fascia, which is a very important structure, may not be able to give that kind of a rotation. But in my opinion, depending on the sport, depending on the requirement of the athlete, may be altered. That movement will be very important. For a basketball player, that is not required. So you may have to choose the person for whom that particular exercise is avoided. Plus, Other things can be when we talked about any form of exercise wherein the knee goes ahead of the foot in a squat. Wherever the knee joint goes in front of the toes as they do a squat, can load the anterior aspect of the knee, the front portion of the knee, the patella, contra Malaysia patella. So avoiding that is important, not to allow the knee to go. When we bend the knee should not go in front of the toes. If this is the toe, the knee should not go in front. The knee has to be in vertical aspect of the toes. Very important. These are the exercises I can simply one up. Anything else they want to add?
How about full squat and hurdler stretch?
See, there's a lot of controversies and theories about the full squat. All of us have to go down to sit on the ground. So full squat is not injurious. It's a misconception. How much load you carry? For example, when I trained Natarajan, who broke the 200-meter record of Milkha Singh, he was doing 200 kg, 65 kg. He will do a full squat to come up. Michael Johnson was doing 360 kg full squat for his build. These are all requirements personally for those athletes, not for everybody. So depending on the requirement of the athlete, it may vary and their preparation for it. You can't give it to everybody and say you can do this exercise. The recommendation has to be followed by the coach and the trainer to make sure they are safe enough to do it and not to progress beyond.
Okay, thank you, doctor. And Alison, can you just give what's the kind of a stretching schedule you have for the basketball players, particularly pre-game and the post-game? Because in India, in Indian conditions, of late we started doing stretching before the game, and seldom the players do the stretching after the game. Can you just emphasize on the stretching?
Yeah, so typically what we'll do prior to game time, I'll allow some time for foam rolling, some sort of rollouts, whether it be like the vibrating foam rolls that we have, or the vibrating balls that we have, or the cross balls, or something to kind of just get either trigger points or target areas where they can kind of start to loosen up. And after they kind of do that, they'll get their shots up and they'll get familiar with the court, and then we'll all start our dynamic stretches. So that's when, we line them up, everybody gets, ready to go through all their movement patterns. So, we'll jog down, we'll do hamstring, we'll do quad, we'll do IT band, we'll do hip flexor, glute, all those things. And then we'll start to put movements that will start to simulate basketball. So, then you start your lunges, which will definitely help with, movement when it comes to running mechanics. And then we'll do lateral lunges, and then that'll help with change of direction, being able to get your body warm and doing those dynamic things in the warm-up. Then you'll go to your V skips, all the things to kind of help start. Those are the dynamic stretches, right? So then you get all that moving, you get your body up, you're ready to play, you've played the game. And then at the end, I personally will take everybody through, no matter how long they've played. I'll bring them down, they'll grab a band, and we'll do a full body stretch at the end of the game. Most times, if we have the opportunity to do so, they'll even jump in the cold tub to kind of get ready for the trip, depending on what's going on schedule-wise. But, in terms of dynamic things before and, activation things before, so that they're ready to play. And then, when we're finished, now we're coming down. Now you want to kind of stretch it out if you've been playing a lot, similar to what I was saying earlier. If it's a whole lot of running, jumping, when you stop all of a sudden, it's just going to stop and it's going to get tight. So go working through those range of motion, making sure that, all the things that you've been using and stretch out, you actually increase the blood flow, help recovery, all these things to kind of help you prepare for the next day.
Yeah, thank you. We have one of our members, Jay Sanan. He's a professional trainer, and he has done his conditioning and strength training from USA. He has got some questions to Dr. Kannan. Jay Sanan, can you just shoot your question and unmute your mic?
Yes. Hello, everyone. First of all, I want to thank IBPA to make me a part of this e-conclave. Starting with the questions, my question to Dr. Kannan is, most of the injuries that you see in basketball are to your connective tissues, especially to your tendons and ligaments. Be it any injury, be it an Achilles rupture, be it an ankle sprain, be it an ACL injury. So what kind of periodized strength training program would you incorporate with an athlete to strengthen the tendons and ligaments, especially because they are very limited with the blood supply? And also, how would you incorporate proprioception for them? Because the first thing you lose after getting injured is your proprioception. So that's my question.
So, first of all, thanks for the question. Good work. Very rarely people have this kind of questions asked. Now, for anybody to recover back after an injury is one aspect. Preventing injuries is the first aspect. That is where most of the people above there are important guys. I come when you are injured. These guys come to prevent that injury. That's why my work is to be preventing that. Now, in your proprioception, if your ankle has been properly trained for a proprioception, not because of an injury, even without an injury, to stand, close your eyes, stand on one leg and do the balance is a very important thing on a regular basis to prevent an ankle sprain. Ankle sprain still can happen because it is an accident or it's an incident. What is an accident? Unexpected, sudden, painful movement, which can cause an injury, may not cause injury. But as the incident is planned, the player wants to hurt you, it is different. Where somebody presses on your foot and you are jumping up, and that is a different sprain altogether. Whereas you land with your foot turned is another. So there are avoidable injuries, unavoidable injuries. In avoidable injuries, where all the people above in the panel are helping you. Unavoidable, when they wantedly hurt you. They are sure because if they continue to play, you are going to cause. Having said that, how fast you come back into your play. Ankle sprains are the commonest injuries that a human being has. Similarly, sprains of the knee joint, which we call as ACL tears, meniscal injuries, they are similar sprains, but happening in the ligaments and the menisci. A lot of times, we can return them back to competition, provided the muscular strength for that activity has been preserved, got back to its original level at the cerebellum, at the muscular level. If that is not procured, you are not safe enough to return to competition. So for a normal ankle sprain, within 3 to 4 weeks, you'll be back into competition. In an ACL injury, it's grade 1, grade 2 and all. You may require 3 to 4 months to recover to go back. If you are operated, it will take 6 to 7 months to return back to competition. Do not return to competition prior to the clearance of the people who are looking after them. The doctor usually does not know when it is ready. He can do a surgery, but he can't tell you when you'll be ready. That is where the trainer, the coach are very important people to assist you in that process of when you are returning to competition. Because we have scientific evidence for our surgery, very little work done by the surgeon for returning to competition. But that comes from the coach, the trainer, and minimum 3 weeks for an ankle sprain, 6 months for an operated AC joint. This is a common platform on, I can give you a wide range. Most of them are healed within the time. So in which proprioception is vital. You already said, I don't say, if you don't know what is proprioception, closing your eyes, standing on one leg, without taking your balance, our support from the upper body, how you can maintain your equilibrium on a narrow base is called as proprioception, because you are not using your eyes, you are using your skin, you are using your joint, you are using your muscles to get the feedback into the brain to know where you are in space. This is called as proprioception. So in a game of basketball, you can't see where your feet is when you are jumping for the ball. But feet knows where it is as well as the brain goes. Those are the qualities that we should develop in a sporting environment. Outside the sporting environment, that's the work of the trainer is so high in this country because we don't have so much trainers who are involved in that aspect. The coach has a lot of time only for the basketball itself. He may not find time because the number of children around him is so much, he can't spend time for training. So the training has to be handed over to somebody. Otherwise, coach will take the honors of training that also. In India, that is what has been happening. That is why we didn't have output so much, because coach didn't have time. They'll only play basketball and let you go. So I think a lot more. And coach was asking about fast twitch, Bala. The reason is coach is sitting in the Guntur, which is Andhra, where the fast twitch fiber, muscle fibers are more common. That's why we have sprinters from South India. Oh. North India produces long distance runners and throwers. South India produces sprinters and jumpers. All the athletes except Milkha Singh have come from South. Okay. You will see national record holders will be from this part in sprint and jumps. Whereas exactly the opposite when it comes, this is common, coach. And this is how the SAI also scouts for athletes and finds that the sprinters are coming from the southern part, and the other side we have the long distance runners. So I fully agree. It was a very fantastic observation. I said, wow, in the short time that he's sitting in India, has already observed that these kids are fast but not having endurance.
Balasar and Jay sir, can we officially start Q&A?
Yeah, one second. There are two questions, Lakshmikant, before we have our question and answer session. Dr. Kannan, you're telling your observations about the South Indian being athletes who are sprinters and the North Indian throwers are long distance. How about this Kerala people? Either they have backwaters, their rowing facilities, their shoulder muscles are good, or up the hill they walk or cycle, their lower body is good. And that's why Kerala is also producing more athletes?
See, Kerala is one region, if you understand very carefully, where Kalaripaitu was continued even after the Britishers occupied. And they were into a war mode for a long time, where the Britishers had banned our Kalaripaitu in the other parts of the country. Under Travancore, they continued. So the kind of training that the martial art gave, people who are supposed to be sprinters, throwers, jumpers would be on an explosive movement, continue to do so. So you find them coming from Kerala. The other, in any region, there will be long distance athletes, and Kerala people have been sports lovers. Very few people will pay money to enter a stadium in India. In Kerala, they will pay money and enter the stadium to watch your basketball or athletics. You can understand the lovers of sports in Kerala. This is one of the reasons you find encouragement is more, recognition for sport as a career. As Coach Russell will say, yes, people are only coming when there is exam, they will all vanish. They will not come for training. Why they should vanish? They will train for even half an hour, 1 hour, and then go and study. But in Kerala, they are particular about them going for athletics or football or basketball. That is why the reason Kerala produces, not anything. And remember, Africa has only Jamaica produces sprinters. The other end produces the long distance runners, Kenya and on the western coast, Kenya and Ethiopia. They do have long distance runners, but not on the caliber. So again, there is a discussion on what sort of food they eat, what sort of people they are. Jamaicans are faster. Now, if you see, all of them will have rippling deltoid. I remember 89 tour, I've seen them with rippling muscles. Yes, look at the coach doing it. Look at that coach doing it. That is what he says immediately. That is what is the Jamaican. You will have aggressive, oh wow, very, very fast people. They can't do things slowly. Whereas in Barbados, they'll be slow. They cannot be, they are different category.
Before we go to the next thing, Doctor, I would like you to just talk about, because this is for the benefit of all the coaches and the players, the proper rehydration and how to find out the difference between muscle soreness and muscle injury. These are all the last two questions from my side.
You have to understand, when there is a muscle soreness, when you warm up, the soreness will go. If it is an injury, it will not go. Simple.
Okay.
If you are giving if a person comes and tells you, coach, I'm having pain, coach. Okay, let's see, warm up. Once you warm up, coach, I'm all right. Go, continue to play. Because this is muscle soreness. Whereas if there is a pain and injury, the guy cannot do the warm up itself. He's going to come and say, coach, I can't do. Then that is a simple mechanism to know, no step out. Not to say with the pain you should continue. Then we are causing damage. This is one way between soreness and the difference, Very simple way to know. Soreness will happen when you cross a certain threshold of training. It is expected. Coach knows he is going to have soreness tomorrow. And Dr. Randall had talked about how by doing ice rub, sitting moving inside the water, doing a proper warm down as stretches. We have given up the warm up in the pre warm up. Pre-game we do the warm up, stretching and all is thrown off. It's only dynamic warm up today. No more of static stretches in the pre-game warm up that we gave. So very important. She touched almost. It was the best panel that I would say, Bala, that you collected. All of them are class.
Okay, about
hats up.
Yeah, about rehydration.
Rehydration. Sorry. The best is not to get thirsty. If you are getting thirsty, that means you have lost 2% of your body weight as sweat and more. In India, in a hot and humid environment, most of us are sitting in such environment. We lose through sweat, quite a lot. Every 1 hour in a sport, we should be, every 15 minutes in a sport, you need to replace 150 ml of water. Like in game basketball, you don't ask the person, are you thirsty? Tell them drink. Best way to know pre and post game, measure the weight to know how much they have lost. If they lost 2 kg, 2 liters of fluid has gone out of their body. Some of them may lose 3 liters. The highest is Alberto Salazar, 3.75 liters per hour. He will lose 3.7 liters as sweat from Morocco. So you can imagine the amount he will sweat. He will kill himself if he doesn't replace fluid. So there are people who sweat more. Tell them to drink water. Urine color is yellow, you are dehydrated. Ask them to find out the urine color. If it is yellow, you are dehydrated. Ask them to hydrate on a regular basis. Don't be thirsty. Drink before you are thirsty. Simple. You have done most of the work.
Okay, thank you, doctor. Drink yellow, pee white is a simple thing which you have said. Anyway, the question and answer session is going to be there, and the panelists have to just bear with us. It's a little extended by 15 to 20 minutes because we are going to have the question and answer session. Mr. Jaishankar, you can start.
Okay, well, I have a question.
Please.
I have a question. Please. Acha, go ahead. From panelists. Okay. Go ahead. Shoot the question from Russell, I believe. Who's questioning? No.
Rachita.
My question. No, not yet. Please mute all.
Any panelists, do you have any question to ask each other? This is something which I have to just ask before throwing the session open for the members who have logged in.
It's not really a question. It's actually agreeing with that. In terms of getting prepared for competition or practice, there is what we call prehab. Now, just to shed some light on prehab, it's what we do every day on a normal basis. The prehab is basically your jogging, your stretching, whatever you need to do to get your body temperature up to that level where you can start. The blood flow is more efficient, and hence the muscles become warm. There is more oxygen in the muscles, so they are able to move. The joints are able to move better. So that is what we have. Prehab is just a nice new word for our calisthenics and what we were doing.
Yeah, calisthenics.
Yes,
is the term.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. And Jay, you can just start the question and answer session.
Yeah, 1 second. Before we go for our Q&A, there are a few questions on the chat which I go to read. And when you go for a Q&A, you have to throw the question and you have to mention whom you are asking, which panelist. Okay, before that, we have our legal advisor of IBPA, leading advocate, Mukesh Kalia is here. Can we have a quick observation of Mukesh Kalia?
Hi, good evening to everybody. I think it was a treat to hear all of you, all the experts, and especially Dr. Kanan and all the experts from the different part of the world. And I think there was so much to gain from all of you, but the time was so less. So that was the handicap which I was feeling, that we could not have all the things from all the experts. We have so many experts with us. The only question which is weighing in my mind is that so much has been said with regard to the training and everything. So by Indian standard, by what age we should pick a child to follow up a systematic training program? So we are not sure whether at the age of 4, 5, 6 or whatever. So I just want a guidance on that.
Whom you are asking this question?
Anyone?
Okay, Randall.
Dr. Cannon. Dr. Cannon is because
Randall can answer.
He is more acquainted with Indian conditions, so I think he'll be more near to my query.
Dr. Kannan.
Sir, when we are talking about people who are into regular training, we need to start like basketball, football, hockey. Train them in all sports. That's what the coach was very particular. Give them not just a particular sport. Let them be trained in various sports. That's what should be the first level. they should specialize around 13, 12, 13 or so. They start to move into specialization. By the time the movement resources that they will have will be more in the brain. Very vital for us to develop. And around 13, 14, they are achieving puberty. The growth is also happening. The hormonal changes are happening. Optimal for us to move into changes. Now, in an Indian environment, from 8 to 12 standard, we are wiped out. We don't have any training because they're all studying for exams. So we have to tell them in 8th standard to 12th standard, every day 1 hour is a must to study well. A wrong impression is that if you study, you can't play. If you play, you can't study. Very important to break for coaches and all will suffer so much. Near the exam, nobody will come. Everyone is vanished. He says, I am here, no athlete is there. What is this exam doing? Exam is an event, whereas playing is a process throughout life. How can we stop it? So the government has to be told, even during exams, people should run and play because they'll be healthy. They will not get corona. They will also make sure that they will not have other diseases. And so we have a healthy population writing the exam and not commit suicide at the end of it if they fail. So all these things can be through sport. So if these guys train regularly, we have to, like, we ask them a question. Did you study today? What do you ask when the child comes back from school? Did you study? Did you ever ask them, how much did you play today? What was the game like? Did you enjoy yourself? We never ask this kid. We are expecting everyone to be doctors, engineers, etc. Never expecting them to be players. Why can't they be players? Like all the others who are sitting here who have achieved so much through their game, and their happiness is not what they did elsewhere on the court. I feel having this honor is vital to be playing for my country. I think that should be built in the school, in the college, going further. This must be a common mantra for all of us, that is there one member in the family who's gone for the defense, we say. Similarly, one member in the family should be given sports, if not many, so that they are given the opportunity to do the best. I think that should be a scheme in the government, saying at least one child for one family going into sports seriously, given all the help. Something, I think we have to think differently. Otherwise, we all become three kinds of people, sir. Those who make it happen, those who watch it happen, those who wonder what happened. We are all watching and clapping our hands. You want to do it, we have to go and do it. So get the children do it, not to let them watch TVs. They must be outside training and not watch what we are talking here.
Thank you, Doctor. There is a question to Randall from the international basketball player Sindhureswaran. I feel we have not touched about the stretching and how to keep the muscle, especially injured group. So,
injured group of muscle.
Question is to Randall, Dr. Randall, about stretching and how to keep the muscle, especially when you have an injury.
Stretching and keeping the muscle healthy or moving while you're injured.
Yes.
That's the question?
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, to my point earlier, well, first of all, if you're injured, before you even get to me or as you kind of start to get back to return to play, there has to be a protocol to make sure that we can do what I'm doing on my end. So as long as your team doctor and your physician has cleared you, your athletic trainer and, those medical personnel have said, okay, you are cleared to go or cleared to return to play, that's when, we'll start to do a little bit more sport specific or intentional things from that perspective. Stretching is always going to be a part of rehab, is always going to be a part of prehab. So if you are, dealing with, some sort of ligament injury, let's say it's like your ankle sprain or something, they're going to work your range of motion during your treatment. So going through range of motion, making sure you're able to stretch, make sure they actually manually stretch you or see where you are, on your own passively. So making sure that you're able to move your leg or move that joint in a particular, from a particular degrees for range of motion. It is important to make sure you constantly keep that range of motion, especially when you're injured, when there's a level of guardedness, especially when pain is associated. So our bodies will naturally stop or hold back or, refrain from going through different extremes in your full range of motion because of that pain. My advice would be to stretch to the point of pain and then see if you can continue to stretch further with, less pain than that. So not going to stretch to where your injury is causing harm by doing like trying to, you know, make up for what you were actually hurt from, but stretching to the point to where you can feel the stretch without pain. Also clearing that from your medical staff, making sure that whatever injury isn't preventing you from, you know, completing the stretch, because like I said, stretching, strengthening, all that's a component of getting you back to being able to return to play.
Yes, sir, two people have raised their hand.
Okay, now the question to Sachi, the chances to Sanji Bagade.
Sanchi Bagade, yes.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Sanchi Bagade and I'm 13 years old. My question is for Dr. Kannan. What should we eat before going for coaching or before a tournament?
Okay. By this time, I thought you should have had that information.
Yes.
You never change at the time of competition. You do what you do in training, in competition also. If you make changes, body is in for a surprise. It's a very important aspect. When you go to competition, on that day, you will carry a bottle with you. All these days, you never did. You carry a fruit juice because mother made the fruit juice for you. All this should not be done only for competition. Now, if you are eating solids, to move out through the stomach, the gastric emptying time, it has to move through the stomach. It will take 2 to 3 hours. If you have more fat, it will slip and stay there. That's why if you say biryani or anything that you eat will be in your stomach, and you will feel that when you belch, you will feel that food is still there. So if it's a fatty diet, it will take 3 hours and more. If it is any other less than fat, it will move out of the stomach earlier. 1. Drinking fluids, it will move out within 45 minutes. If it is a hot fluid, cold fluid will move out within 30 minutes. So if you are going to take coffee before your training or Bonvita or milk, take half an hour to 45 minutes before you take it. 1. If you are taking solid, 2.5 hours before the competition. And not to have a high amount of fat. Today there's a lot of confusion. There's a keto thing coming in, a lot of information coming in that diet has to be altered. The final word is not yet come. There is still a lot of confusion between carbohydrate or fat or whatever. As coaches today, we are still holding on to the carbo theory, though there is a lot of information that are contradicting us. But still at this moment, we are still holding carbo 60, maybe 20-30% of your protein and 20-30% of fat, depending on how you want to distribute it. But you will take fat also, because fat is essential for your normal functions of the body, for the vitamins to be absorbed. Don't think fat is not useful. But in quantities, that should be ideal. So I have given this simple thing of whenever you are going to eat, you should eat 2.5 to 3 hours before. After playing, within 1 hour, you must eat a carbo meal if possible, because that's the golden hour where the absorption of nutrition, especially carb, will be more and replenish your glucose stores. So if you want anything to happen post your game, then you can have fruit juices or anything. Do not take fruit juices during the run or the training, because it is concentrated fluid, will pull fluid from the capillaries in the stomach into the stomach wall. You'll be sweating inside the stomach and sweating outside also during the game, not worthwhile. Take water with 1 spoon of glucose. If today in India, what they will do, they will take a bottle of water, put a whole packet of glucose into it and take it with them. No, you will take 1 spoon, 8 to 10% of glucose can be added. That's all. In 1 bottle, you can have 1 spoon to encourage your absorption. Preferably cool, not cold, because you can get a throat infection in India. Don't put ice. They will buy the ice from the shops and put it. Don't put ice, because the microorganisms will be more. You can get a sore throat. In an Indian environment, these are all important things.
Doctor, talking about
I have one
this.
more question actually.
Yeah, please go.
Okay, so as I said, I'm 13 years old. So what exercises should I do in this quarantine? Because not all exercises are applicable for my age.
Dr. Randall doesn't know you are in a quarantine. Tell, we are not able to go out. What exercise should do? Dr. Randall is there. She is an Olympian. Look at her. Must be like her, no? Yeah, look at her. Look at that smile, that confidence. Look at her. Feel that. That's more important, child. More important.
Yeah. So, during lockdown, I like to think of exercises in terms of like the patterns that we do. So, if I were to list them out, I would say squat something, lunge something, All right, hinge. So that's basically bowing forward, looking your posterior, you know, position. Then I would say press, and I would say pull, and I would say twist. Okay, so doing different things that can work those things. So I'm gonna squat. I see a bunch of books back there. I think that's what I see back there on the shelf. Grab you some books. Go ahead and squat down and come up, and then you can work with different factors. So you can add a pause at the bottom. You can go slow. You can go fast. So doing different variations of that movement to work on that squat pattern. Okay, so then you have your hinge movement. So that's the RDL, or different things where you bow forward and your posterior chain is loaded. So once again, grab those books. You can hold a book right here to your heart and then bow forward and then come up. So we're working on different things with what you have at your home. Okay, you can
what if we use a med ball?
Yes, med ball works too. If you have a med ball, use a med ball.
Yeah,
Anything
I have it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also, I'd say make sure you're jumping with it. You can throw it. If you have a partner to throw back and forth, you can throw it up in the air. You can slam it down on the ground. I don't know what your, living situation is or who you have above or below. Okay. But, if you want to really get something going behind that med ball, please do that. But squat, jump, you can throw, press it, you can pull it. Okay. Just working on twisting, different things that that your body moves to in terms of locomotion. Different things that you need to walk, to run, to squat, to jump. All those movement patterns, you can do some variation of them at home.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Thiru have a question. Mr. Thiru, please go ahead with your question. Please unmute yourself and go ahead with your question.
Yes, sir. Dr. Kannan. Basically, you're talking about studies and sports. People don't teach the science involved when you're shooting a basketball, physics involved, how the ball rotates.
I have to get your question. Bala, you got the question?
No, I didn't. He is not yet asked.
Oh.
Your question. In fact, what you have typed in the chat box.
Yeah, can I speak?
Yeah, please go ahead. Please.
Yeah. This is to Dr. Kannan. You're talking about studies and science, like when we shoot a basketball, we don't teach the physics involved, how the ball rotates, how the ball goes. So just telling about, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was basically talking about the physics involved while shooting a basketball that we don't teach to the kids, right? So when we teach that, then they will talk about how studies and science will go together. Right? So that's one part.
Okay. See, the problem is at what point, like this 13-year-old who may be interested in a particular sport need not know the science behind the sport, which is unnecessary data for them. Depending on their maturity and their level of participation, the coach or the trainer may share that information with them and not to put it on everybody as a requirement because they won't be interested. Because some of them are bothered about their training and do what they have to do. Even the ball that you're going to say as a shot that you're saying, the player is not bothered about physics. You will make me do, or should I do it on my own?
That was a comment I was making. Why sports and studies are not good today.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But the real question is, how do you assess players when you give a particular biometric exercise? Like, is it by biopsy? What biopsy, or based on BMI? Do you have the gadgets here to do that? How do you assess? I mean, how do you give a particular? You say uniformly we cannot give, right? So
yeah, in Indian environment, a single muscle biopsy has never been done, will not be done until unless we have the information like in Karolinska Institute in Sweden. They can take a muscle biopsy and tell you what is the speed that you can reach for 100, 200, 400, or if you're other events. So it is not there. It is a predictive science. I'm not saying usually they are okay. Now, if without that, trainers like coach and trainers, whom we are seeing in the panel here, they can do a fitness assessment of their speed on a 30 meters or a 5 kilo or a 1,500 meter run and understand whether they are sprinters, middle distance runners, or long distance runners. To an extent, we can come. And with their push-ups and sit-ups, we are able to assess their fitness and know that usually they can be in sport that involves explosive power, or they have to be in endurance events.
Mr. Manish Kumar have a question. Mr. Manish Kumar, please go ahead with your question. Manish Kumar, are you there? Mr. Manish Kumar, are you there?
Let's go to the next.
Unmute.
Mr. Manish Kumar, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
So we need permission to extend another 10 minutes. We will close at 8 o'clock.
I would like to interrupt here.
Yeah, Mr. Manish joined.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Manish, go ahead.
Mr. Manish?
No. I have a question to Dr. Randall regarding weight training on pre-season, in-season, and off-season. So can you just give a brief on this weight training schedules which you are following for the team?
Yes. So our preseason, our regular season will begin the end of October, and then depending on if we make postseason, it'll be through March. So typically, depending on the school schedule, and if we have summer classes or things going on like that, we will have our athletes on campus for maybe June or July where they're taking classes. So that is a big bonus for us if we can get them early so that we can actually start to kind of develop some sort of foundation. If that's the case, of course, there are rules in terms of how long that I can have them and how long I can train them for per day or per week in addition to their actual basketball training. So right now, what I typically would do they would do something with me every day, something. We're not going crazy every day. We're not, maxing out every day or doing anything like that, but we break it up to where the intensities and the duration of the days will vary. So they may have a strength and conditioning, on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. That Monday will probably be the hardest day out of the week, just coming off of that 2 days of being off. So that Monday they'll come in, we'll have our big main list, the ones that kind of use the most power out. I can kind of get the most bang for my buck, try to get that in the beginning. And then kind of, I don't want to put it down, but it isn't as taxing as their basketball practices increase, as the training load from the week increases. So just making sure those are timely and appropriate. So typically it's a high intensity day on that first day. So, we're going to clean, do something really explosive. We're going to squat. We're going to do a lot of things that require you to be relatively fresh. That second day, on that first day, and then probably doing linear acceleration, change of direction, and making sure those things are emphasized first and early on the week. Because a lot of that has to do and making sure that their movements are right and working on shin angles and, putting our foot through the ground and absorbing force and all those things. So all the things that are more so technically heavy, I like to do it when I have them as fresh as I can. And then they kind of continue to build on that during practice during the week. That second day will be more upper body focused, so a little bit more plyometrics with med balls and, doing more shoulder work, back work. We might have one leg auxiliary activity, and then that'll kind of be our conditioning day. So then that'll be more, either fast glycolysis or just really working on, 1 and 3 work rest ratios, making sure we're getting their heart rate up. So now we have, that big heavy day on that first day, change of direction, linear acceleration, and then we'll have upper body and then a long conditioning day. And then Wednesday, I kind of like to treat it like an active recovery. So we might come in, go through some body weight things, and then stretch and get you out. So now, like from that Monday, Tuesday, then you have a day to kind of flush. And then Thursday might mimic something like the Monday, and then Friday will mimic something like the Friday. That's kind of our preseason or off-season kind of schedule. When we start to play, we'll usually have 2 days out of the week where we actually have basketball games. And that's SEC play will be like a Thursday and a Sunday. So what they'll do, they'll have Monday off. We'll come in and do our main lift on Tuesday. Wednesday is not a lift. It's more so like a recovery day, foam rolling, activation, and then we play on Thursday. Friday, it will be like another activation lift. Like we'll use our Kaiser machines. We'll do a lot of single arm, single leg things to maintain our strength through the season, but it isn't like CNS loading. So we're not going to put a bar on our backs on that Friday, knowing that we just played a basketball game, knowing that we had a game or hard practice on Tuesday. So it's a little lighter, but a little bit more, structurally demanding, like core stabilization, shoulder stabilization, working through range of motion, kind of flushing the game out. The Saturday, we do the same thing that we did on that Wednesday, kind of to prepare, and then we play again on Sunday. So in season is kind of 2 days a week, depending on training days, like training hard days, actual in the weight room days. And then off season, I can kind of have a little bit more days to kind of get more foundation work to last us through the end of March.
Thank you. Dr. Vala, there are two more questions. I think Rajit wants to question. Rajit, can we have Rajit?
My question is to Dr. Kannan.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead, Rajit.
Hi, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. Perfect.
Loud and clear.
Able to hear.
Yeah, Dr. Kannan, thank you so much for your valuable information which you have shared with everyone. सर मेरा आपसे एक ये क्वेश्चन है कि जब हमारा जो प्लेयर बनने का जो टाइम स्टार्ट होता है दैट इज एट द स्कूल एज 12 to 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 उस टाइम पे जैसे हम यूएसए और डेवलप्ड नेशंस की बात करते हैं जहाँ पे स्ट्रेंथ ट्रेनिंग के लिए स्पेशली अलग से ट्रेनर्स हैं आपने मेंशन भी करा था कि कोच का रोल अलग है ट्रेनर्स का रोल अलग है सो ट्रेनर हैज टू प्ले इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट फॉर स्ट्रेंथ ट्रेनिंग अनलाइक यूएसए हमारे पास में मोस्टली स्कूल्स में
शूट द क्वेश्चन
या हाँ तो मैं आपसे ये क्वेश्चन करना चाहता हूँ डॉक्टर कन्नन कि हमारे यहाँ के लिए स्ट्रेंथ ट्रेनिंग आप क्या एडवाइस करेंगे जो लोग मतलब स्कूल कॉलेजेस में मतलब जिम्स को एक्सेस नहीं कर सकते हैं
Rashmikant, you can translate.
Sir, no. I understood whether they can do strength training, when they can start strength training to an extent. Sir, a lot of misconception is if you do strength training, you will become stunted in growth. Children are carrying 10 kgs of their bag every day, carrying on one side. That doesn't get them stunted. So they are holding on to the bus and traveling and all that. That doesn't have a weight training effect. So unfortunately, a misconception is the growth plate will get jammed and you cannot grow. In fact, when there is a compression, the growth plate, the piezoelectric crystal like a bone grows better when there is a compression, axial compression. So a misconception about weight training must be thrown away. We can start even at early age, understanding the mechanics of the weight training itself. Don't have to increase the load, but teach them early so they learn how to do the strength training, which when they come to 12, 13, they can build it up. Not to start at 12, 13. Most of them are starting 17, 18 because they will get stunted. So naturally the athletes, that's why the coach was saying, no, our athletes are puny. They are not strong. Because strength training starts only at 17, 18 in our country, thinking we'll get stunted. It's a misconception. You can definitely grow well. Like Sanchi, if she is 13, she must be doing strength training. She's not doing strength training, she'll be my patient. How to avoid being patient is not to see me, see the trainer, see the coaches. That is the key in sports medicine. Not to see the doctor.
Thank you, doctor. And there is a question to Dr. Randall. One second, Lakshmi. There is a question to Randall by Thiru. Can we have Thiru once again?
Yeah, Dr. Randall, this is for you quickly. This is time is not there. What sort of analytics reports that you give to the players? I mean, basically, do you have a sheet that you have and you note down and give to the players way of your exercises and your workouts and also basketball skills? Because here in India, actually the coaches don't have sheets to analyze or analyticals are not done much, right? We can throw some light about all these aspects that goes into your training of players. Right,
you mean to say the training diaries?
Yes, training diaries, not the right one, analytics.
You're asking about training diaries and programs and like literal physical papers?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So typically what I'll do during the season, they'll have their card and, we'll kind of go through each item on the card and it's, it's pretty structured. And I'll have it each one for each person. So everybody kind of has an idea of what everybody will do. And if someone has a problem area or something that they really need to work on or something that they're really behind, I'll make that adjustment on their card. But every time they come in, they're with me. Every time they lift or train, they're with me. So I can monitor, I can watch what they're doing. We'll have conversations. I'll say, all right, you did this 3 times. How many more times do you think you could have done it? And if they say, maybe 2 or 3, then that gives me an idea just from a perceived relative strength standpoint, what we in terms of moving them forward and backing them down. So then that way I can adjust their training loads as we go on, because I don't want to have someone, working off of 90, 95% of their training max or as hard as they can, knowing that, we have to. Trying to be really intentional and hands-on when it comes to what's on the bar, what they're doing, how they're doing it, and I actually have a sheet and a card out for them.
Yes, sir. There is a question from Mr. Manish. How to maintain individual difference, adoption, and
Lakshmi, question to whom?
Miss Randall. Miss Randall.
Dr. Landal, okay.
How to maintain individual difference, adoption, and individual recovery.
Say that one more time.
My question is, there is a participant, Mr. Manish. There is a question.
That's okay. Go ahead. Question.
How to maintain individual differences, adoption, and individual recovery.
How do I assess difficulty? Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
He wants to know how they can plan their recovery.
Adaptation and recovery.
Adaptation and durability.
Okay. Adaptation and recovery.
Hey, can I ask my question? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hold on a second, sir.
Since we teach when we are coaching for a team, so there are so many players with the different abilities, right? So when we come with a training program, all the students, we have a similar program for all the students or the team members. So when we are making a program, how we make sure that everybody is adapting to the program and recovering at the same time. So do you have any individual differences for the players or individual training programs within a team program?
Yeah, so typically what I'll do, like I said, I'll kind of start with everyone at ground zero in terms of figuring out where they are, assessing their movement patterns, figuring out, how much training load they've had over the years, so their training ages, and then I can kind of either separate or advance or regress people as needed. So to my point, everyone is going to squat. Everyone is going to hinge. Everyone's going to push. Everybody's going to pull based off of what their body will allow them to do. So if someone is a very experienced Olympic lifter and they enjoy it and they get a lot out of it, I'm going to put that on their card so that they can do that. If I have someone who's new or not as, advanced in the technicalities of the catch and like receiving the position and things where I can still teach it, but when I'm talking about meat and potatoes and really trying to get the most out of them, I might get a trap bar and do like a trap pull or a shrug and then just measure the bar speed of that. So then that way, yes, we're training power. Yes, we're training explosive power. Maybe one person is really good at lifting Olympic style. Somebody might not be that good yet, but I need to get that component out of them. I need to train them. It could be someone who's in the post. So like my post players, I really try to really harp on, shoulders, back as much because they're getting banged up down there. Okay, and they're getting some big bodies in the SEC. So if it's up to me, I'm going to do my best. They might get a couple more shoulder, chest activities that a guard might not necessarily get, where I can emphasize maybe a little bit more ankle stuff or a little bit more finesse things for them that will kind of help them in their sport or in their position in the sport. So in terms of individual, I can kind of coin in and see what they are good at, see what they like, and see what I can get the most out of, and kind of harp on where they are on the court so they can do their job, be able to go up and have a strong finish, being able to take contact and finish in the goal. So things like that I can kind of plug in. If somebody's weaker, kind of harp on that more. If somebody's good at it and we're just trying to keep them healthy and keep them moving, I'll harp in on that.
Thank you, Dr. Rantal.
Yes, sir, there is last question. Mr.
Okay, last question.
Yeah,
okay,
last question. Ishan Sharma, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
I have also a question.
Yes.
Yeah. So my question is a short question to both Coach Allison and Dr. Kannan. What would be your advice to someone who's just starting out in the field of strength and conditioning, as in with his formal education? So what would be your advice to a person like that?
Let's see. I want to believe, in order to sit for the CSCS, and that's the
right.
U.S. National Strength Conditioning Association, you have to have a bachelor's degree and go through your study guides and basically just sit for that exam. Another certification that we have is the CSCCA, and that's the Collegiate Strength and Conditioning Association, and that is more so rigid in terms of you have to have a master strength coach oversee you for X amount of hours before you can actually go to the conference and before you can actually sit for the exam. So if you don't have access to somebody like that or someone who has that master strength coach status, the CSCS would be a better option in terms of getting certified. It is very hot science-based. It is loaded in terms of, application compared to the CSCCA. CSCCA, you come, you show them how to do a thing. So you actually coach for them. So they say, all right, teach me how to squat. And you have to go through step by step what you would say to this athlete. But definitely I would advise, that's probably the premier in the US. I know I guess a competitor or something along the same lines, but they have one in Australia. They have I think it's like an AU,
Australian Institute of Sport, AIS.
Yeah.
Dr. Kannan wants to add, please.
Australian Institute of Sport is what she's talking about. There are training programs run by them, and any program can be an online program today because they are able to let you learn them even before the corona. So it's possible for us to learn at any part of the world, and provided you are interested in doing that program, I think that would be a best option. As Dr. Randall was able to give us enough focus on what she knows very well because she's sitting down there.
I would like to add, Dr. Kannan and Dr. Randall. In fact, I did one program from California, the Progressive Fitness, but I learned more from Dr. Kannan Clinic. And he is running Indian Institute of Sports Medicine. And there are some courses are being offered. Everybody cannot afford to go to USA to do the ACM or CCSA or AAS program. Even in India, Dr. Kannan, I learned 2 levels of taping I learned when I was there understudy with Dr. Kannan. And I learned how to just assess the meniscus tear or ACL tear when he was diagnosing the patients. And I was there. And more about anatomy, when they were cutting open the cadaver, I was able to learn when I was there with Dr. Kannan Pugarendi. There are some programs, fitness programs are available in India for those who can afford in India. And one of the best institute which I can vouch is Spark, SPARRC. If you just Google it, you'll be able to get it. Indian Institute of Sports Medicine. This I would like to just add. Dr. Kannan would not do this. I thought I'll just add it.
Sir, I've actually enrolled in his kinesiology course for this.
Fantastic. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, one and all.
I have a question.
Kinesiologist, kinesiologist may not be immediately getting a job in a particular position, but they have to move to exercise physiologists, or they must be trainers so that they can be in a fitness industry, or they can be in the sporting or game industry. They cannot, in Indian environment, the fitness industry is much more paying than the sporting industry. So they may not get a placement until unless they are into a sporting academy, which employs them also as kinesiologists, very rare, not so common.
Okay, that's the last question to Coach Russell. How do you prevent hamstring injury? Do you have wearables?
Okay, it is not as clear cut, not very easy, because as Dr. Randall was saying, that you can have accidents. But first and foremost is to understand the warm-up and the warm-up process. What is the warm-up for? It's for gradual increase in activity to raise the muscle temperature and the heart rate to ensure that enough blood flows to the muscles so that it can do whatever it needs to do. So you will start by a general warm-up, which may be jogging, some jumping jacks, your line drills, etc. And then you will progress to your specific warm-ups, your layup drills, your whatever the case may be. What we are going to explain as well is that when you go for your specific warm-up, it has to be in line with exactly what your goals are. What is your sport? What you're trying to do? Am I trying to do some 3-point shooting? Am I trying to dribble? Whatever the case may be. So for the hamstrings, you have to know that, look, flexibility is very important. So at the end of the session, you also have to ensure that you cool down properly. You get the muscles back down to the muscles back down to the correct temperature. The muscles would have been stretched beyond what they are, so you get them back to that homeostatic condition, and so you ensure that you prepare the muscles for the next training session, because sometimes you will finish one training session, everything okay, and then you go to the next training session and that's when you get injured. So all that you do when you warm up and you cool down is to ensure that you can take the next game or the next training session with your muscles intact and in good position to continue.
Mr. Russell, what I can add, one second, Dr. Kannan would like to add something.
What I want to add, Coach, very important aspect which you can remember is the pelvic stabilization. Because the pelvic stability is not good in some of them, the core strength may be weak. And these athletes, when they run, there can be an oscillation upward and downward of the spine, which may have to be taken into account when we video them. And this is a very important aspect today as a cause for a hamstring injury. No more of quadricep is very strong, hamstring is weak. These injuries happen during a eccentric contraction in the hamstring, never in a concentric contraction. So one aspect is if the stability of the pelvis is not good, the probability of a hamstring strain or the athlete taking a curve, whether it's a sharp curve, whether the inner group of muscles is involved or the outer one is involved. The coach will be able to make these things repeatedly, seeing the athlete, but that's why he's getting, and the curve has to be much more wider or not to be sharper. I would put these ones, which can make a lot of difference in preventing a hamstring injury.
Okay, can you just add one thing, Doctor and Mr. Russell? Basically, the basketball game is a lot of back running is there. Running backwards or walking backwards, will it strengthen the hamstring, Dr. Kannan?
Sir, running back, understand one important aspect. The neuro, it is not about just the muscular component. It is the coordination coming from the brain to the rest of the body. So repeatedly you work on it. You can't put load on this, because if you load it, there can be injuries. You can't train a person with a load on it and try to run back. In my opinion, during the training itself, repeat. Instead of after doing a squats, you can do a back run instead of a forward run, so that these are incorporated in the training itself. Don't have to worry about doing a separate training. This is my opinion. I think the coaches differ, or Dr. Randall differs. I don't know.
Do the fluids play a major role in the hamstring? Do the fluids play a major role in the hamstring?
Fluids.
Yes. In all muscular injuries, sir, if the fluid levels are low, the adhesion between the muscle fibers is a possibility, and the muscle need not slide very smoothly. So possibility of an injury, we never said it is there. These are all conjectures, and we say there is a possibility. So drinking enough fluid is vital. And most important, I'll add this, which may not be seen by the coaches. The reason being, what the athlete does outside the training is very important. They are sitting down for a long time watching movies and using cell phones like this. And that is the cause for the pain and not the exercise. A lot of people come and complain, I did this exercise, I got this pain. No, the exercise didn't produce pain. What you did other than the exercise throughout the day, watching a laptop, computer, are the causes for pain that I treat. 95% of my patients come with sitting and causing trouble. They didn't move.
8 hours of sleep can also
in
work.
India, we have the major trouble.
Yes. So thank
8
you.
hours, 8 hours of sleep can help.
So find out from the athlete what they do after the game, because that you have monitored. What you have not monitored is outside that area. And ask them, please give them guidelines. In Indian environment, there is a phenomenal damage that happens at that time. They will have odd postures and creating trouble, and it will come only to the hand of the trainer and the coach. And then when they cross that, it will be reaching me.
I think I had to call a timeout now because we have already crossed the time.
Helps, right?
You didn't give me a chance, Jay, and you didn't give me a chance.
No, thank you. If you want, you can email us. We will forward to the expert and get the reply back. And before inviting Ajay Bedi, the Associate Secretary of IBPA, for extending vote of thanks, I just want to thank my good friend Coach Russell for getting the two panelists from Jamaica and USA. And I'm sure Dr. Kannan's our friend Bala has brought officially Dr. Kannan in. We thank you, and I request Ajay Bedi to do the vote of thanks officially on behalf of IBPA and the India basketball fans. Over to Ajay Bedi.
Thank you, Jay. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be part of this great initiative. And I would like to thank IBPA as well as Indian basketball fans to make it happening. I would like to begin my note by thanking the foreign guests, and they have really putting in effort due to the the diversity of time, and they are coming in and scheduling or altering their schedule according to our timing. Thank you very much, especially to all the foreign guests, Dr. Randall, Michael Russell and Michael Wessel, and Dr. Kannan is from India, so we could always thank him to be part and taking out time from his busy schedule. This note is not complete without taking the name of our chairman, Mr. Ghulam Abbas Muntasar, because he has started it with tributing this session to late Shri Sarabjit Singh Senior, who is the first Arjun awardee from Indian basketball fraternity. It's an honor for me to do this valedictory note, especially when India is moving ahead in so many aspects of sports, and shedding this enlightenment on the basketball is an honor for all of us. I feel envious at times that we didn't have this kind of platform, during our time or before that. So we could have get enlightened and we would have helped ourselves and kids to follow. So thank you very much, and thank you, dear all, for making this successful.
Thank you, Ajay Bedi. Thank you so much, and hope Randall can go ahead for breakfast. I think it's very early. I think we are delayed for breakfast. And thank you so much, Dr. Kannan and other panelists.
Thank you, Doctor.
Michael Russell, thank you. I think I'll miss you before you catch your flight to Jamaica.
Yeah.
Thank you, all of you.
Ask Alison a question. Can she just repeat the name of that book that she had mentioned earlier?
Yeah.
Yes, that was Original Strength by Tim Anderson. Original Strength.
Original Strength.
Dr. Randall, you can put it in the chat so that we can just save it.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
been more than 2 hours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Bala.
So that even I can add it to my library.
Thank you, Omi.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Don't close the Alison.
One of you for making today's evening a very quality session. We learned a lot. Thank you, Rajagopal ji from Bangalore. Thank you so much.